and girls from around the world, we have one game left for you this evening before we move on to day 3 of the Intel Extreme Masters live from Katowice for the World Championship Series Winter Championship. Joining me on the desk to conclude the day, we have In Control.
It's not one game, is it?
This is our last game of the day.
One match, I'd say.
Match, set of maps,
it's a
series.
best of 5, which is multiple games, right?
You know what? We have one battle left.
Ask yourself, what would Chober do in that situation?
Well, usually I ask myself what Too Good would do, but I wouldn't be here anymore. So I'm going to continue on. MarineLorD,
you're an ass.
You are an ass.
One final epic encounter this evening left to go, and it is the best one of the day, at least in my eyes. I'm not sure if you agree.
I agree. TvZ has been my favorite matchup since Wings of Liberty, and it still is. It's an incredible matchup. It's my favorite to play, my favorite to watch. Just cannot wait. I've been talking about how amazing MarineLorD is. You know, there's only 2 Terrans left, but Polt and MarineLorD are still contenders to go all the way, for sure.
Yeah, and I love that this is pretty much the only match that we do have where there's been some trash talk, there's been some bickering a little bit, you know, getting on that couch and saying, that guy's not good. What did he say about me, you know? So there's going to be some drama. There's going to be some real feelings in terms of, like, I really want to beat this guy. You know, he said bad stuff about me in this series, and that's going to make it even better. There's a story behind it.
Yeah, for some of you at home not quite understanding what exactly that was, is MarineLorD said that he wouldn't lose to any Zergs in this tournament, and then when he got a Zerg in this round, he said, well, I'm not changing what I said, I'm not losing 20 Zergs. And then when confronted about that, viOlet said, well, we'll see about that. And here we are in the round of 16 with a player that will win this, will play in front of the stage, in front of the audience, or will play on stage in front of the audience tomorrow. It's a big game, of course. An exciting one in Control. Are you excited? You look like you are very excited.
Yeah. These are long days, but they're really fun. Hanging out with you guys, it's great. Great games. And I think this is the marquee matchup, and I wouldn't end the day any other way. I think anytime you have 2 players that people could very realistically see go deep or win a tournament, and both MarineLorD and viOlet are those guys, it's awesome. And we're in the round of 16. They're fighting for now $8,000. We haven't talked about that as much. It's not quite as dramatic as 0 to 6,000.
Yeah.
Thank
I
you
guess
very
it's
much.
more the WCS points. I'm not sure exactly how much more they get, but it's the WCS points. You get to play on stage, and then you get closer to the BlizzCon spot, a lot more money, you know, all this great stuff. So
first place, I think, Drogo right now, because his DreamHack win has roughly 900. You've banked 600 being in the round of 16, and you get an additional 300. So you're looking at an additional 900 from being in this. So it's a lot of points on the line. I think one thing that's very exciting for this match for a lot of, obviously, the French fans and everyone watching on the internet is that MarineLorD, after his famous 5-0 against Korea in Nation Wars, then went on to DreamHack where everyone's like, all right, let's see what this guy could do. And he got eliminated by Showtime, obviously one of the great players of Europe. And he couldn't quite show what he could have potentially done in that tournament.
It was a different show at that time.
He didn't show at that time, did he? But here again, another tournament.
It was a different patch back then, mate. It's a little bit of changes to the Adepts. It's
and he was caught off guard by it, and now is another chance for MarineLorD to show again what he did back then against Korea, and this time against a Korean. I think it's
definitely that is there, but I mean, you kind of glossed on this point, but it's 2 Terrans left, and Terrans are interesting. They either run, I just killed my punchline, but they like run red hot in Korea and do really well, where it seems like none of them can fail, and in Europe in particular, it's always been tough. The European scene has been harsh on Terran players. They either have these Protosses that just shut them down, or an ocean of Zergs that are just kind of good against everybody. So for MarineLorD to step up, this is nice, but this is where he's got to make his announcement. I mean, it is the WCS Winter Finals. Like, this is the best chance to earn a lot of money and a lot of points, and he's got to do it now.
Yeah, he's a favorite to do so, for sure, to do well in this tournament. But viOlet, come on. I mean, there's no way you're counting this guy out, ever. viOlet has definitely had his ups and downs, but in recent times, he's back on and up. And is continuing to rise. He's getting back results to what he had when he was dominant, to be fair, back in 2012 and pushing into 2013. He definitely dropped off, but he is back to a certain degree.
I don't like viOlet. He's like, it's just...
I hope he's not listening to this.
I mean, he's way too handsome to be as good at StarCraft as he is.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Way too good at English.
Like,
I mean,
funny,
this is getting ridiculous,
he gives
right?
entertaining interviews. Like, it's like, knock it off. Like, that's way too much going on over there. I bet he eats his boogers, is what I think it comes down to. There's something going on there, you know?
He can't be that perfect.
He might wet the bed or something. I don't know.
He's got something. That's all.
Red Eye's got to
right?
go deeper. If he wins this match, we got to go deeper. There's something in there. There's something in there.
All right, time to
get to the predictions.
So we'll start with tough.
Valdez.
Super tough.
viOlet or MarineLorD?
Yeah, viOlet's a fantastic Zerg, right? But I talked to MarineLorD on the bus, and that guy was oozing confidence, right? We saw it in both of his interviews. I'm really backing behind this guy. I think he's the best French player we have out here, especially now Lilbo's out of the tournament. I'm going to give it to him 3-1.
Ooh. Wow.
I'm going to say MarineLorD 3-0.
Do you say that with your confident face? That's your confident face.
You have to put on the confident face first.
Can we have the 5K confidence face? Can you do it for us again?
Camera, you got to zoom in.
Okay. Yeah, we got it.
Nice,
we got there. We got there.
For the people with really...
There, do it again. Do it again.
Here we go.
That's the MarineLorD confidence face.
Ladies.
Ladies.
That's an Australian. If you've ever seen one.
You guys both pick MarineLorD?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is weird, guys, because a little bit of history. Usually I am the absolute worst predictor of these matches.
Do you have a feeling?
But I'm killing it. Yeah, I got a
How's
feeling.
that feeling going?
viOlet
You got that itch in your elbow?
3-1, I think, actually. Pretty
Your predictions have been on point this event.
Yeah, Kevin will tell you that for sure.
All right, thank you very much, gentlemen. We're going to go over to the commentary team for this one to bring you the final game of the evening. It's France versus Korea in MarineLorD versus viOlet.
Thank you very much, guys. Yeah, great match coming up. MarineLorD literally oozing confidence as Maynard just... I love that face, man. It's a good look. That's a good look, man. When they pull out Zoolander 3, get Maynard in on that. He needs to be the cover photo guy.
Very big series, Nate. I think a series that all of us have been excited for throughout the entire day. And I did a little bit of digging, looked into the history, and these guys actually got an interesting history as well. Because there was a time that everybody said, like, MarineLorD is one of the best Terrans in Europe, but he never really had the results to back it up. Until he had that good run in WCS Season 2, when he made it to the finals in Canada, made it all the way to the quarterfinals. But that season started off in the round of 32, obviously, back then played in Burbank, where he was in the same group as viOlet. viOlet took down MarineLorD 2-0, but then in the deciders match of that group, MarineLorD actually came back and won 2-1. And that was kind of the start of MarineLorD's first very successful tournament run. And since then, they have not played against each other.
So it's been a little while then. I'm very interested to see how these guys shape up. I mean, viOlet has been kind of cranking it up a little bit. You know, he had we'd say 2015 was maybe a little bit of a softer year in terms of overall results. We talk about, you know, the viOlet of old, because he had that period of time where he wasn't really competing much. He was getting his visa stuff sorted out, and then kind of came back to playing WCS, but didn't take home the championships that he was looking for in that field either. But then you've got MarineLorD, who everybody knows, you know, he's had that big hype train around him since Legacy of the Void. Obviously, his performance in Nation Wars is something that people are probably going to continue to bring up for forever, just non-stop, because it was so impressive for him. He did a really good job. But honestly, I'm not 100% sure where he's going to take this match. I haven't been able to catch any of his games recently either.
I mean, it's quite rare, right, that the foreigner is the favorite over the Korean. And viOlet has definitely been looking better in 2016 than he was in 2015 in many ways, in-game and out of game. That guy is hella handsome. I totally agree with everything that Jeff said, but... you know, DreamHack Leipzig was good for viOlet, even though he lost surprisingly against Bly in the semi-finals. I didn't see that one coming. Other than that, he had a very good run that tournament. He didn't even drop a single map all the way to the semi-finals. So viOlet's definitely looking good, playing better StarCraft than he's done in quite some time. But still, most people here see MarineLorD as the favorite, and that is definitely something unique that really tells something.
Yeah, I think one of the bigger weaknesses when you try to look at, you know, viOlet's playstyle, if we talk about him as a StarCraft player, you know, just from the years that we've been casting his games in just WCS America and in WCS for the last 2 years in 2015, he likes the early aggressive play. He's the guy that'll throw out the cheeky builds. I feel like in Legacy of the Void, Terran has some pretty good options to deal with that. And for TvZ, the biggest fear of most Terran players is going to be that late game. So I wonder if viOlet's adjusting his style to be still that kind of, you know, grappling, aggressive, early mid-game play, which I think should give MarineLorD an advantage because he is a very solid Terran. Or if he's going to try to force out that late game, try to get MarineLorD to make mistakes when it comes to Liberator or Ghost positioning.
I mean, I definitely think that maps are going to be very important over here. Like on certain maps, he may be way more aggressive than on others, but I think what's even going to be more important is where they spawn on those maps. You know, let's say we kick things off on Lateral Crest. If this is cross map, I really think that viOlet is going to play with a lot of confidence and going to try to sing this one out. If it's not, if it's close position, that's going to be a lot harder. And the same goes for Runes of Serens and stuff. You know, if it's it's vertical, it's going to make it a lot easier for MarineLorD to do something. While if it's cross-map, it's likely that he's going to have to play against Ultralisk. And that doesn't necessarily mean that if the Ultras are out, it's GG, but things do change a lot.
Yeah, I mean, Terran versus Zerg right now, like if you just look at based on how Koreans are playing the matchup especially, it's all about setting yourself up with something in the beginning, whether it's early Reaper pressure or an early Hellion or Hellbat attack, and then going straight into just bio and trying to kill the Zerg as fast as humanly possible before they get to that late game tech. Because as you said, once the Ultras come out, it's a completely different matchup. The way that you have to approach it is super different. You need to have Ghosts, you need to have, you know, the greatest SimCity ever outside your 4th base and Liberators and whatnot. So MarineLorD could try to go for this really, really heavy bio push, or maybe he's comfortable playing at the long game. Maybe he doesn't mind playing against that. Though in my experience, from what I've seen at the highest level of play, players are trying to end games as much as they possibly can before Hive Tech is out for Zerg.
I really hope that we kick things off on Arena or something, Nate. I of course agree with everything you said, but you know, on a map like Arena, everything is changed immediately. And we saw MarineLorD play a couple of great games against Team Korea in the Nationwide Season 3. But of course, that was online. You know, it's a different ball game. Offline, especially with a lot of money on the line, more viewers here as well. And of course, both these guys would love to play tomorrow in front of the Polish crowd. So it's definitely a whole different ball game right now. You cannot compare the two scenarios, but I would love to see things start off on a rather weird map, just to see how both players will approach this entire best of 5.
Yeah, MarineLorD I think is a much more flexible player when you look at like some of the crazy scenarios that you can get into. Like if I imagine, like if I'm trying to compare MarineLorD to other Terrans from the games that I've seen, like if you had MarineLorD up against like Haas, you know, rather than Bunny. Like Bunny played a very straightforward style. Bunny's good at that. But I feel like MarineLorD's the kind of guy that can make those adjustments where he can survive against those pushes, but still play in the normal macro game that he should have an advantage in. And when I think about that in terms of Terran versus Zerg, it makes me believe that the biggest advantage that MarineLorD could get would be if viOlet tried to be aggressive early on, because MarineLorD is a smart player.
Yeah, he's very smart.
He's one of the guys that I talk to pretty regularly. I've had a lot of conversations with him recently, like about the tank change in TvT, because I've been trying to get players' thoughts, because honestly, it's hard to know like what exactly are the biggest strengths and disadvantages and you know, with the way that people want to change the game. So he's someone that thinks a lot about the game. He doesn't really do things super blindly, and honestly, he plays very well. He's got a fun style that, you know, if you watch MarineLorD plays, it's usually good stuff.
For the people who just tuned in, this is of course a match of the bottom side of the bracket, not the lower bracket. I just mean like the bottom side. So they will not face Nurcho or Hawk until the grand final if they would actually make it there. The winner of this series would move on to play against the winner of Masa versus Snoot. Now, of course, both Masa and Snoot are excellent, but I think if you're MarineLorD, you're pretty damn confident against both of them.
Yeah, you certainly should be. Snoot...
And let's not forget that if you would win that, I mean, you have to win against viOlet first, but if you win that one too, suddenly you're in the semi-finals, and then absolutely anything is possible.
Yeah, I like MarineLorD's chances moving forward if he gets out of this match. So I guess it really just comes down to how well he's going to be able to take things against viOlet. Although I do feel MarineLorD will play straightforward. Most of what I'm going to be looking out for, and I think, you know, as a viewer, if what you're looking out for in these games are going to be what viOlet does. Is it going to be, you know, it does viOlet throughout the Nidus play against Terran. We do see a good mix of that still from Zergs. If we get a game like on Arena, is it going to be the Ling Queen drop, which some Terran players have had some struggles with? And how is MarineLorD going to react? You know, that's I think makes this a dynamic matchup, because I don't think of either of these players as being too stuck in their ways.
No, I like that you bring it up, and I like that you bring up the history of viOlet's playstyle, because traditionally he has always been an aggressive Zerg.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean that's the only thing he can do, though, because a lot of people, maybe you started watching in 2014, 2015, you're like, yeah, viOlet, I've seen him around, sometimes he beats up on a couple of NA players, but he doesn't really seem to be the absolute top. But people often forget that there was a time where viOlet was world-class, where he won one of the most stacked MLGs ever back then in New York, where he also won an Intel Extreme Masters event, even though that wasn't the biggest IEM ever in Sao Paulo. But he did win very high tier championships, and after that it's just been, you know, sometimes it looks close to the old viOlet, but over the last few years he's mostly been trademarked by early aggression, and that can often only bring you so far. But I feel in Legacy, with the start of Legacy, we're starting to see a much more well-rounded viOlet again.
But he can still make use of that old nature, though, because I think about just the kind of builds that he used to use in Heart of the Swarm. He was one of those guys that would do a lot of those 1-1 Roach type pushes. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we get a game in this series and like Prion Terraces, you know, just one of those crazy, like, really fast Roach Ravager max out pushes and try to just kill him straight up, even without taking it to the late game. So he can use both sides of that coin to his advantage.
Now, as much as we love listening to ourselves, we're not talking for such a long time for absolutely no reason, guys. There seemed to be a minor technical difficulty, so we're just going to throw to a very quick break, and then hopefully we can start the final best of 5 of the day in roughly 3 minutes or so. So stay tuned, it's going to be amazing.
All right. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the TvZ Winter Championship here at the Intel Extreme Masters Katowice. As you see, we were so ready to go into the game. We tried to jump in, but it wasn't quite ready just yet.
That seemed like a very innocent lobby chat. Every now and then, it's not all that innocent,
no.
So we dodged the bullet. Talking about weird maps, Nate, we're going to kick this best of 5 off on Central Protocol, and that's definitely one of those stranger maps.
That's right. We're loaded in the bottom right, as you can see. We have the red Terran player representing France and Millennium. He is MarineLorD.
I see lots of baguettes in Twitch chat. Everybody's raising them.
The chat has a lot of raised baguettes for that man. And in the top left, we have his opponent, the Blue Zerg, representing Team NVOS. We have viOlet. I've heard a lot of different pronunciations. Huh? I should just ask one of those guys at this event.
You should ask your Counter-Strike friends. They have a very, very good Counter-Strike team.
That's true. That's true.
Alrighty, so viOlet's going to go hatch first. There's one last thing, Nate, that I want to bring up before we just talk about build orders, or mostly you, because this is absolutely your territory. I'm just your sidekick for this best of 5. You know, we talk often about prize money and how much this matters. Double Rex, Nate, are we going to see mass Reapers over here on Central Protocol?
Yeah, probably. This is like the best map. I think, you know, this map, if they had gotten horizontal spawns, then it's almost free win tier. Like, the Reapers just go straight across. Now, cross spawn Reapers are still good because you have the giant cliff, but he was hoping that viOlet had spawned in the bottom left for sure.
All right, so there's one big difference between these two guys. Of course, viOlet has been around for a lot longer, and he has collected way more prize money over the years. He has collected over $140,000 in winnings. MarineLorD, on the other end, only $33,000. And this is something that could definitely make newer players nervous sometimes when they arrive to the scene, because every series they play it so much, you know, there's so much pressure. It means still more to them because the other guy has already won so much more. He's getting used to that. But I think after MarineLorD won his first match, where he already secured $6,000, I actually think he's in a very good spot right now. Making it to the quarterfinals will give him an additional $2,000, but I don't think that should, you know,
I mean, most
really
of the pressure, most of the pressure as far as income goes off once you're in the top 16. And now
that should allow him to play his best StarCraft.
Yeah, exactly. Like now his biggest focus is just going to be like, you know, kicking violet's ass. If you really think about it, that's what he's thinking about. It's like, all right, I want to come in here. I want to have a really good game. Obviously, I want to go as far in the tournament as I can, but he is MarineLorD. He is a man with a reputation, and there's a lot of people that are really hoping for him to go very far in this tournament, especially the Terrans out there.
First Reaper makes his way across the map. Is going to start working on a couple of links immediately. You want to keep these Reapers alive at all costs, and before the second Reaper arrives, I really think it's important what Maynard brought up as well, because a lot of people were disappointed at MarineLorD, you know, like, oh, the remap Gleit's here, he really need to do that good. This is not the same play that all killed Korea, but that was a rough patch for Terran, and back then Protoss was very good, and I think he even lost 3-2, right, in the final game. So even though he went out in the round of 32, sometimes, you know, just looking at the bracket doesn't really tell the entire tale of a player's performance.
I love that you bring that up as well, as this Reaper harass really starts to get going. But, you know, that last game where he was eliminated ended with 30 Adepts teleporting onto all of his Marines in like 3 bunkers. So.
These Reapers are definitely starting to get quite some work done, though, forcing out a lot of links. A very early Roach Warren is going to be the response of all of this for viOlet. Sometimes you even see a couple of roaches and then you see them just run across the map, and you see the Zerg player try to counter, but that's going to be very hard. Cross map, you know, central protocol, Reapers will just throw grenades at you for days.
Yeah, Reapers are all about momentum, you know, you kill the wave of links, force another bunch of larvae to be spent on them, grab a queen, do this, do that. Of course, preventing creep spread is another great way that you can deal pressure with these Reapers while he expands behind this. Although ideally, you'd like to get a little bit more done as a Terran. The Roach Warren is mostly going to open him up to go for a counterattack, or at least be able to send the Lings out and still have something at home to defend with.
Very hard to counterattack though against this many Reapers.
Yeah.
If you don't surround them, if you don't pick a couple off. One Reaper will get surrounded over here. Good job there by viOlet. Didn't even really end up losing a whole lot of Zerglings. Has to be careful, but you know, MarineLorD definitely tried to find openings, but excellent defense so far by viOlet.
And viOlet does slip a few Lings out onto the map. The natural is not being built at the natural. This is just smart play by MarineLorD.
Wow.
This Reaper's going to get caught, but he should just raise the door, and he's okay. A lot of people, you know, you get caught off guard. If you were to build your first expansion on location, you get in a lot of trouble for that.
So I want to ask you, what do you think would have been better there? Picking up that Reaper or actually just running the Lings in immediately and having those
if he could have gotten in, I think, going for it, but then if you try to go for it and MarineLorD still closes the door, then you don't get the Reaper either, because he can just jump down and run around the cliff. So I think the Reaper was okay. It's not like he needs too much scouting, because there's really only so many things that you can do to follow up this sort of play.
Yeah, but I mean, if there were 0 units in the main base, there's a good chance he gets a couple SCVs.
Yeah, I agree. Trying to get some SCVs would also have been nice. It's hard to say for sure.
Wow, and one more actually from downtown. Look at that Ravager, man. Steph Curry, the Ravager, is in the game as well, getting a good shot off there. That was actually kind of painful for MarineLorD. His Reaper count suddenly doesn't look all that intimidating anymore.
He's lost a lot. I mean, you look at the units lost, like, okay, a lot of Lings, some drones, and a Roach, but those are all pretty cheap. Like, Reapers are ridiculously expensive. MarineLorD does get step back just a little bit, trying to chain some grenades behind him, and actually could pick off all these Lings now.
Well, one Reaper was very low on HP, but he did make the cut.
Yeah. Staying alive, as it were. Factory is on the way. Lair is on the way. So, very, very straightforward game. If he hadn't lost all those Reapers, like, he could, for example, Roddy, just go over to that third base and actually just start wailing away at it. Like, 4 Reapers have reasonable amount of damage output if they throw their grenades, but it's not enough to deny this expansion, whereas you just want to keep alive. If he has like a couple, 1, 2 more, he could actually get a lot more done.
I mean, he lost 8 Reapers, I think, throughout this game, or 9. Imagine if he has 10 Reapers there throwing grenades.
Oh, yeah.
That hatchery will not finish off.
That's the whole thing. Reapers just scale really, really well as you get more of them, because of the way you can spam out the grenades. The grenades can be very close to each other, and then, of course, their damage stacks on anything that they hit more than once.
I mean, we've been focusing a lot on MarineLorD so far, but you got to give credit where credit is due, and I think viOlet's defense so far is excellent. He's looking really sharp. I mean, he looked phenomenal at DreamHack Leipzig, where he didn't lose a single game until he met Bly in the semifinals. Over here, I think he looks great again. He lost one game against Jigawa yesterday, but still a 3-1 victory in the round of 32. That's very solid in TvZ. And looking at the first few minutes over here on Central Protocol, I like what I see if I'm a viOlet fan.
Yeah, getting the third base on this map is one of the more tricky things that you're going to have to do. You know, the Reapers didn't get done what they had hoped to accomplish. MarineLorD's going to float out to try to get his third as well, but this is a map that favors the composition that viOlet's going for. Roach Ravager, he's getting those upgrades. You have so many open spaces. Like, so you might say, oh, but siege tanks are good against these units, but not really if your opponent can spread out in a massive arc. Like, look at all this open space. Like, you're going to have, like, you need so much to cover this ground, and that naturally leads into, well, MarineLorD's going to want to drop. He's going to want to keep viOlet from going for a massive engagement because, frankly, it's really, really hard to beat Roach Ravager out in the open. You want to fight in choke points. You want to get all those Ravagers to clump up and not be able to do what they want to do.
It's very hard to fight in a choke point on Central Protocol. Like, I can't really imagine
there's not really any chokes unless you, like, go for the gold base, and even that ramp is still pretty big.
Unless you really look for it, you should never fight in a choke point on this map.
Yeah, so there's a lot of opportunity here for viOlet. And of course, as the creep spread helps hold those bases together. I think things like Roach counterattacks, Link counterattacks, really good on this map since you are so outstretched going to this third.
So I have to ask you, Nate, as a Terran player right now, you're obviously worried about that. You know what's coming. You know your opponent's going to make a lot of Roaches. You know he's going to make a lot of Ravagers, and he's going to apply pressure on this very exposed third base soon. What's the best response? Do you try to get mines out, multiple bunkers, tanks all over the place? Like, what is the best thing to do? He needs to do it quickly, though.
I like bunkers, but look at this. He's already sending out this double drop. And viOlet's like, yeah, man, you need all your units at home right now, buddy. And honestly, I would have said you need to do more damage with the 3-Rax Reaper because that's one of the reasons why you do that strategy.
I think MarineLorD is in a lot of trouble over here. He may not die in the natural, but the other base is so exposed.
Just send a few Roaches to the third while you do this. I mean, forcing his way up the ramp is probably the only way that viOlet takes a bad trade. He could just go deny the third right now.
He could have sent 4 Roaches there and he already picked off 7, 8, 9 SCVs.
If he had just sent a few Roaches before this engagement even started, he's killed all those workers already, and he's still going to get worker damage done because, like I said, he can bully him out in the open.
This was still very well done by MarineLorD, though, because this was looking very, very dicey when all those units were making their way across the map. He actually evacuated a couple of the SCVs at first, still ended up losing 16 SCVs during all of this, but a couple of Marines are still standing strong.
I mean, those Ravagers do a lot of damage in the straight-up fight, so it's very hard to get the positional edge here. That command center's taking a lot of damage. That 1-1 is done, and of course, Roaches and Ravagers, they both have armor built in by default, which helps them a lot against Marines, especially in smaller numbers.
Reinforcements have arrived for viOlet. He's still on a pretty comfortable supply lead. More SCVs being transferred. It seems like MarineLorD is pretty high on supply, but I just don't really see where it is. I guess it's mostly medevacs for now. Now finally a few more Marines will show up. Great corrosive balls, by the way, gets more and more and more SCV kills. And let's not forget that during all of this, viOlet has 2-2 on the way, tunneling claws, and a 4th base.
Yeah, the 4th base is the most important part here because he killed so many MarineLorD's SCVs. It's very important, actually, this little chasing to get rid of these Ravagers. They are so expensive. And
sick hold, though.
Our awesome observer Funka pointing out 78 drones for viOlet. He's got enough cash money to just pump out Roaches forever.
It was a very, very good hold. I still think that viOlet overcommitted a tiny bit at first, trying to run up the ramp in the natural. Completely unnecessary. So he's still on 4 bases. This is good for viOlet. MarineLorD lost a lot of SCVs, but that's not the end of the world. He's on 57 SCVs, and I really feel that if you already have all your infrastructure in place, you've got 2-2 upgrades on the way. At this point, the only money you're spending is not on supply depots and stuff anymore. Well, he's going to need a couple soon, but not as extreme as when he's building barracks. So 57 SCVs and 3 orbital commands. It's not like MarineLorD has an awful economy right now.
Yeah, and the medevacs are still the strongest part of this, right? We don't have anything like mutas. That Roach Burrow being shown is really nice. Save the tank. The fact that he knows, he showed that Burrow, I feel, a little bit early. I mean, if he had just tried to go into the natural first, he could have possibly accomplished a lot more.
The thing is, though, so he does have a missile turret over there. That's very nice, but the supplies, Nate. viOlet solidly maxed out. MarineLorD still hovering around 130. That one missile turret there is absolutely a saving grace.
That's crucial.
Yep. If those Roaches would have showed up in the main base on top of the production, that would have been super unfortunate.
Yeah, so the other problem that still needs to be dealt with in this game is just that MarineLorD, with the way that this map is set up, with the way that these resources are working, Roach Ravager is so cheap. Violet's still maxed out.
Yeah, I think Violet wants to fight right now while he's maxed out. And he has 2-2 upgrades, Nate. 2-2 is not ready yet for MarineLorD. He really needs to buy at least 15 more seconds, and even then it's going to be a very tricky hold.
And like I said, he can just fight out in the open. He can spread out in a huge arc to collapse on these tanks, and that's exactly what he's going to do. First corrosive bars are going to push back. The bio is retreating. 2-2 has completed, but these siege tanks trying to do their absolute best. May just not be enough. There's just so much on the ground for Violet.
Yeah, still a lot of Roaches and Ravagers remaining. Good pickups though on those tanks by MarineLorD. He's trying to keep those tanks alive for as long as possible. Dodges more corrosive balls, but he just doesn't have the bio numbers anymore to back it up. The tanks are very exposed right now, and he also lost the 4th command center. He didn't cancel it.
Yeah, I mean, really it just comes down to, you know, the tank micro is important, but he doesn't have enough bio. Violet just had so much more to work with this whole time. It is important that he goes over to this 3rd base, though, and cleans up these SCVs again. He has the economic lead. It's okay for him to trade his army out as long as he doesn't completely overcommit in a ridiculous manner, but he's just got so much streaming on the east side.
Yeah, look at the mini-map. That's beautiful, man. It's just blue dots streaming from west to east. MarineLorD still trying to hang in there.
His tank back micro is
great.
really
phenomenal.
Good. This is the only reason why this game isn't over yet, especially considering just how much he committed to the early Reaper aggression and how little he got out of it.
Wow, I mean, being down 40 supply, he was down 70 or almost 70 supply by the time that this fight started, so it wasn't really all that bad. Of course, he mined out his main and his natural starting to run very low to pick up the tank. He does it again. What a phenomenal hold so far by MarineLorD.
It's really the only reason why this game hasn't ended. His tank control has been really good with the Metavacs. Every tank he loses is just pushing this game closer to ending, though, and the last one does get picked off. Another one pops. He's been building 2 at a time, but the thing is, like, tanks take a while to build. You're not building more than 1 or 2 at a time, and your opponent is just non-stop cranking out Roaches and Ravagers.
It really seemed like MarineLorD was close to stabilizing, but then he just lost a few too many tanks, and GG is called. Violet, with never-ending reinforcements streaming across the map, will pick up game number 1 in Central Protocol, which I really think, Nate, goes all the way back to his initial hold against the 3 Rex Reaper.
Yeah, so the thing is, you look at it and you say, okay, well, obviously Violet had a tremendous economy lead. He was able to grossly outproduce him, but that all stems from 3 Rex Reaper. That's a lot of gas early on. That's you know, that's your 1-1. That could have been his first medevac or tank drop to do any other type of build to harass with. Cloak Banshee, you know, 8 Reapers, or I guess in total it'd be like 12, is a huge investment. You are looking to get damage done, and the thing is, by the time you commit to 3 Rex Reaper, you can't really have scouted your opponent's first spawn yet. So you kind of roll the dice a little bit. If you get cross spawns, you're not very happy at all. If you get that close horizontal spawns, it is so easy to deal incredible amounts of damage because there's only one path your opponent can also take to your base as well.
Excellent start though for Violet, just played very well, and you know, macro, I do think late game macro for Zerg is a tiny bit easier these days because you can stack the injects.
Yeah, you can shift Q injects on queens that have more than 25 energy, so
you can just keep fighting and trading for days in a play that's as fast as Violet. He was always good already with injects, of course, but I think right now it's going to make it even easier for him to just have lots of life at home.
Especially when you consider that you open up with extra queens anyway to help deal with that sort of Reaper play. I will say this though, MarineLorD displayed really phenomenal control, and you know, without trying to be too biased of a look, when you're using siege tanks, you want your opponent to be forced into choke points where all your tanks can spread that splash damage out. Central Protocol has been a nightmare of a map, especially for non-Zerg, for that exact reason. Protoss players have had trouble with it. You can't just build a wall there. Terran players have had trouble with it. You can't just build a wall. You need to have most of your army there to stop big attacks because the Protoss, because the Zerg can spread out so much with the Roaches and Ravagers that, you know, once they max out, they can fight you with their full force at once. You can't split them in half or anything like that.
I also want to compliment Violet in the end by not overextending, because there are these moments where it's really funny how Roach Ravager works, right? Because either it's very scary and you force the Terran player to run away, dodge corrosive balls, pick up the tanks, or suddenly you start losing the fight, and then if you stick around, well, you might get like 2, 3 more, 4 more Marines, but you're going to lose everything else. And Violet never did that. If he was starting to lose a fight, if MarineLorD was starting to stabilize, he's like, all right, the 7, 8 Roaches I still got fighting here that are about to die, I'll send them north and I'll wait for the reinforcements.
And you touched on this as well when talking about when he pushed in, and we were talking about, hey, just split a couple Roaches at the 3rd base. Just make sure that you're harassing that 3rd, because I feel like that's the one way where Violet throws away his early lead. If Violet were to have really tried to break that natural expansion open and never sent anything to the 3rd base, and MarineLorD barely holds, then he's in a really good spot. He doesn't need to rebuild the SCVs. He doesn't have to repair the command center. He just gets one more wave out, and he's in a really, really good position. So the decision-making there was also good for viOlet, but I feel like, you know, most of these weirder maps tend to favor Zerg in these scrappy scenarios, so the series should get easier, in my opinion, for MarineLorD. Probably the worst thing that could happen is if he got cross-spawns on maps like Laralac Crest or Ruins of Ceres, just because, you know, that's just the creep spread will allow that long distance to be more easily mitigated by Zerg.
Now, I don't want to call MarineLorD a one-trick pony, because I know that he's a pretty versatile Terran player, but if I think back of the run that he had at Nationwide, you know, where I think his final map score was like 24-2 or something ridiculous like that, a lot of the TvZs were off the back of 3-Rex Reaper. Do you think that viOlet is maybe very well prepared for that? And do you think that 3-Rex Reaper is that good that even if your opponent knows you're going to do it, that it will still be 50-50 at best?
Yeah, 3-Rex Reaper is that good.
Okay, like, so it all comes down to execution.
Yeah, I think execution has the biggest impact, and there are players that even do like weird gas steals on ladder and such just because they don't want to play against it, even if they know that you're going to. So.
Oh my god.
But we're going to go to Arena for map number 2. Definitely not a Reaper map, but I am very interested to see what this man does in the bottom left. He's down 0-1 in this best of 5. He's Millennium's MarineLorD.
I love it, Nate. These two guys, they just start off the series like, all right, you want to start on Central Protocol? Well, then my map pick is going to be Arena. Over here on the left top side of this crazy map, we're looking at the main base of our Zerg player. It is, of course, a viOlet. Surprisingly enough, viOlet has never won at WCS. Yeah, he had a couple of decent runs here and there, but I really thought, you know, in the start of 2013, it's like, oh man, with this system, I think viOlet is going to do well.
Paul has always been his Achilles heel, because, I mean, he's taken series off of him, sure, but that's the thing that we always have to bring up when we talk about Paul, is that Paul always performs when it matters the most, and unfortunately for viOlet, that tended to be WCS the last couple of years.
I mean, of course, viOlet has still done well, but, you know, when you think of viOlet's peak, when you really think of the best performance he's ever had, you got to go back to those MLG days, you know, where he won that one MLG that was very Zerg stacked back then. Also had a very good run in the GSL, came close to winning the final GSL, I believe, back then. It was with Hyun and Sniper. I think viOlet made it to the semifinals
he was very close, that infamous GSL with Ryung's
Yep.
Good times. Good times.
Did you agree with that statement, Nate?
I think literally everyone that played the game agreed with that statement.
No, I don't think Sniper did. I think Sniper legitimately thought he was the best player in the world.
I think Sniper hugged his pillow with that GSL trophy, thanking for Infestors and then the Wings of Liberty.
MarineLorD is going to scout this hatch. It's a tiny bit later than perhaps you would normally see. That's, of course, because viOlet dropped the spawning pool before he dropped that hatchery. Yeah. Rather be safe than sorry.
It is a little bit of a scary thing to worry about, because as we see, the Roach Horn has started. And if you're MarineLorD, you should already be concerned to some extent. So this is one of the things that I really like when we compare, for example. We already kind of talked about this in TVP with like him versus Bunny. MarineLorD knows Reapers are not good on this map. It's very difficult to get utility and value out of Reapers. He gets a faster reactor. This means earlier Marines. If this is just a handful of Roaches or Ravagers, that extra early round of Marines can be really important. And MarineLorD should kind of take a cue here. If he knows how viOlet likes to play, slap a bunker down in the front. Don't swap that factory onto your reactor. Just go straight for a tank and a medevac and do some sort of Marine tank medevac push, because that's also really good on Arena.
Yeah, I've seen it in the past as well. MarineLorD plays different on this map than he does on any other map. This is not the map where he tried to squeeze out a quick third command center or make Hellions. That would just be very silly. We already see 5 Roaches are on the way. No gas, or excuse me, no Zergling speed, so it's going to be pure Roach Ravager. This doesn't mean that viOlet is super all-in, but it's obviously a commitment, and he wants to get a lot of value out of his commitment. And MarineLorD still does not have a bunker, Nate.
So this does bother me. He is getting the tech lab on the factory. I do believe that he wants to go for Banshee or tanks, but he's going to find out about these Roaches way too late.
I mean,
like, he's going to pull back.
I mean, I feel on a moment like this, you may as well fight, because now you lose 3 Marines and you get no DPS out of it at all.
Like this was just a really rough start, because he scouted the pool first, and he didn't really seem to pay much respect to it. Unfortunately for him.
This is going to be rough, man, because these Roaches could morph into Ravagers as well, and even if they don't, they will still be able to get quite a few SCVs here.
viOlet doesn't have enough gas to really make a commitment into Ravagers, but the Roaches can just trade out, kill some SCVs. Losing the Overlord definitely hurts, since these Roaches have no way to get high ground vision, but as long as he just trades away, I'm very interested to see what the worker count's going to look like after this fight. It is a little bit of an edge here for viOlet, but MarineLorD has a nice tech setup with the medevac, with the tank about to pop.
6 more drones on the way for viOlet.
But like I said, this is just one of those scenarios where if he had just put a bunker down when he saw that it was pool first and just played it safe. A lot of people do builds like this on Arena specifically because of the rush distance.
At least because the Marines met the roaches in the middle of the map, he didn't lose any SCVs on the low ground, and that would have been a little more devastating. viOlet's going to try to keep one of these Overlords alive at the cost of one more roach, I wanted to say, but no, 1 HP.
Roaches are strong. But this is still a nice spot because Zergling speed isn't ready. I think if MarineLorD has a scan, this is one of the most crucial times to drop those.
Well, Nate, 24 Zerglings, that's a whole lot of links, and there is still no bunker, I believe, in the natural. So this tank, obviously, can always save the tank, but if MarineLorD ends up losing these 8 Marines, and he should probably lose, because you don't want to lose the tank, so it's either the Marines or the tank, and viOlet, with a lot of units right now, is definitely going to scare MarineLorD to bits. Pick up the tank.
Yeah, I mean, he forces a heavy commitment of investments into the defensive resources, but
he has nothing here.
He can set himself up for a follow attack here as long as he can just hold on to this position. The Marines trying to block that spot so the Lynx can't get through. Really good control. This is what MarineLorD showed at the end of that last game. Just good control. I love this. More tanks. Add in the Liberator, and every Terran that's worth their salt should have this sort of push in their playbook. It is so unbelievably good on this map, and like I said before, it was so smart for him to snipe the creep tumors because now he can set up on the slow ground, and it's so hard to surround for viOlet.
That tank was super MVP though. He's got some sick aim because he took out all 6 or 7 of those Lynx. He already has 16 kills in total, but the other tank as well. And he kept the 2 Marines alive, which is very important because if those Marines would have died, the Lynx could have been in the dead zone of the tank, and then the tank would not be able to do anything, and there's a chance he loses a couple of SCVs again.
Yeah, that was really well controlled by MarineLorD. And viOlet, he does have his third base. The lack of creep spread is what's going to be his biggest worry because MarineLorD hasn't started any extra racks. Like the Liberator can go to harass, but this should be, for all intents and purposes, some sort of Marine tank push with the Medivacs moving those tanks forward. It's just too good on this map to not do it.
MarineLorD has to pay attention to this tank, and he will. He's trying to get a couple of hits off. This is really annoying right now if you're viOlet. Obviously, you don't have a Spire. You don't really have anything that's very good with this. Imagine if he was playing Arco mode right now, Nick.
Yeah, it's a very, very rough spot to be in. And MarineLorD would just have so much more hands to work with, with this tank micro. It is considered to be one of the most difficult types of harass to do. There are a lot of Ravagers on the map, so MarineLorD might be being a little bit too fancy here. He needs to pull these units back into a safer spot. Building that third out on location, also pretty risky.
I love the tank spread, though. He's got 4 tanks, and it makes it so hard for these Ravagers to even get close to them.
The Lynx get in, though. They actually picked off 2 of the siege tanks that were here defending. The Ravagers get a 3rd tank, and this 4th one is picked off. There's just a single siege tank left for MarineLorD, so viOlet, by getting those Lynx in on top of the tanks, has really started to shift the momentum in this game. Liberator is going to come place that Freedom Zone, but it goes, just barely not dead yet. That's a really, really big pickoff since it's able to help kill one of the Ravagers.
Well, 3 Ravagers so low on HP. 1 tank should be able to pick up all 3 of them at once. I think that SCV even helped out a little bit. 14 SCVs went down, but it is a triple command center. Well, almost. It's triple.
He's got
double orbital and almost triple orbital. But this was painful for MarineLorD. It could have been a lot better. You mentioned it. I didn't even see it. But the Lynx getting in, because at first it looked phenomenal with those 4 tanks.
If those 2-3 Lynx don't squeeze in and he's able to either pick those off and then get to work on those Ravagers, I think this is a super easy hole for MarineLorD. But tanks just take so long to build. They're so expensive. They are not units you can just lose. You don't want to be like, oh, I'll trade a tank for each Ravager. Ravagers they're a lot faster to get.
It might be a small issue right now for viOlet. He lost all of his Ravagers, I believe, so I'm not sure if he can deal with that Liberator right now. I don't think he has a single Ravager.
This is something that would be really, really nice for... what are you doing? These guys just like, got left behind. Just figured I'd chill here for a little bit.
Would have been much nicer for viOlet if this little guy was on the other side of the map helping against the Liberator. 67 drones though for viOlet.
Yeah.
It's been a very cool game, a very dynamic game.
Yeah, this is a nice little cheeky game. I love this denying the mining on the left side. It's like, okay, grab a drone here, move away. Nope. Okay, Liberator dies. 3 drones.
A little bit of lost mining time as well.
I'd rather have a Liberator.
Man, MarineLorD needs time, and he really needs to start building up a real army because he has like, let's say, is it like 30 army supply right now?
This setup, had he defended the Ravagers with all his tanks and then repaired them, this setup would have been perfect to immediately counterattack with all those tanks, and it would have been almost impossible for viOlet to stop. The problem now is that as this game goes longer, well, it's just kind of that he missed that window since his stim and his +1 and his combat tools are so late that full 1-1 upgrade advantage for viOlet, he's going to wreck Marines in the open field.
I mean, it's just scary right now to be MarineLorD. If you take a look at MarineLorD's vision, he has nothing on the map. Absolutely nothing. It's just some scary dark place out there. You have no idea how many units your opponent has by now, because this has been kind of a scrappy back and forth game. He's going to throw down his scan. He sees the Roach Warren wiggle, so he knows that Roach speed is not done yet, but it could be done soon. Yeah, that's actually a really cool scout.
Yeah, the drop overlords are going to be a big threat here because we know that viOlet loves these sort of aggressive, cheeky plays. He can bring the roaches over. That's really going to hurt the mobility of the siege tanks as well.
Big supply drop, big supply block, excuse me, for MarineLorD. So he uses Call Down for supply depots, but I think he's going to have to use it one more time soon as he's supply blocked again. 3 depots on the way though. Maybe nerves getting the best of him, and obviously under a little bit of pressure, like best of 5s. Like people often say, like, oh, I love playing best of 5, but you know, if you lose game number 1 on a kind of crazy map, you're like, all right, that could happen.
Go down a rocky road real fast.
Exactly. But then like game number 2, and suddenly you make a couple of mistakes in game number 2, and that's when the pressure really starts piling on already.
Yeah. So we'll have to see. I mean, the infestation pit's coming up. I like this a lot. You know, MarineLorD definitely showed some good resolve in keeping himself alive on Central Protocol. In this map, it will be easier for him to do that. So going into Hive Tech is a great game-finishing move for viOlet.
I think it's safe to say that as long as there is no Hive, though, MarineLorD should not be moving out. Like, he needs to build up his army. Like, Roach Ravager is scary, but if Terran is maxed out, it will murder Roach Ravager.
I mean, the most important thing is as these Overlord drops move in, there are Marines here positioned to defend them. Like, this is sort of a style where MarineLorD must keep building bio, or he will die to a Roach Ravager max out. But if viOlet makes the switch into Ultras, he can't be building bio because he doesn't have enough money to switch into Ghosts and build bio at the same time.
Great Overlord spread there by viOlet. Actually solved this drop, so he's going to bring a couple of units in position. You know what I would love to see, Nate? This is a small thing, but if you know that your opponent is going to do a certain drop, I don't think you should put your units at the edge like he did with the Marines. I think if he brings the Marines a little bit more south in his main base, it's like, yeah, drop those 8 roaches, and then you stim forward and you pick up the Overlords, so roaches are trapped. It's one of these small things, but you know, for instance, if you play Protoss as well, if you know a matter of fact drop is coming, hide the Stalkers a tiny bit, and I think the same goes here for Terran.
And then you wait. Well, I mean, the Marines don't blink in, but yeah, stimming in. I agree.
Stim is better, Nate. Want to trade?
Debatable in
certain cases. Okay. I'd stim my Stalkers
on a cheeky Cloud Kingdom with a Mothership Core for vision. I don't know about that.
Fine.
There's a moment. The Roach drop does eventually make its way in right as the Marines leave, so worst possible, never lucky, Baby Rage.
Yeah, when it rains, it pours. This is definitely not what MarineLorD wants. He also saw that massive army that's lurking outside of his third base.
And then
look at the creep as well, man.
If viOlet wants to attack the third base, this is the best time. He's got 2-2 finishing, and he sees that about 20 or so Marines are outside of that army position.
Okay, I do like the little sim city that he has created for himself. He does clean up the main base. I think there are a couple of units on the other side of the map, so I do like this. Create chaos, counter-attack.
This is really good. Yeah. This is actually one of the coolest things that he's done. He's got the drop on the top side as well, so he's like, yeah, run over here to the men with guns. Lots of drones. Wow, MarineLorD is actually really starting to make something happen here.
Yeah, and viOlet is retreating. He's coming all the way back to deal with his aggression. Great counter-attack here by MarineLorD. Amazing.
Was phenomenal. 24 drones picked off, and he still has that medevac on the other side.
And what a great judgment call. You know, you see that super scary army outside of your third base. You have nothing out there. Most people would be like, oh, do I have enough to hang on? You know, he's got 2-2 upgrades. MarineLorD is counterattacking on that exact moment.
Now, this is still scary because there's a lot here to fight for viOlet, and he's also moving out on a creep. But this is also the only really good time because this army's invalid once that Ultralisk Cavern's ready to go.
He's got so many Marines. A lot of the tanks are sieging right now. This should be a good fight for MarineLorD. And viOlet knows it, so he's going to back off.
MarineLorD needs to go. He needs to go now. Keep in mind, chitinous plating is not started. That is the upgrade that basically puts an end to this bio style. Like, you can't be playing this. He needs to keep the tanks alive, especially if he wants to deal with even the unupgraded Ultras.
Still a lot of roaches over here, but they're eating a lot of splash damage from all these tanks. Pushing the bio back, though, for a little bit, as +2 armor is not ready yet. A lot of Marines did get picked off very quickly. Supply-wise, it's very close. I really feel this is a moment where MarineLorD should just press F2, and you gotta go for it.
He needs to go now. If chitinous finishes and those Ultras are on the map, and he hasn't killed the third and the fourth, he's done. He just doesn't have a follow-up to this. Yeah, and the fifth. Kill everything. He pretty much needs to win the game here, because once the bio can't deal with the Ultras, those Ravagers are going to just drop corrosive bios on all the tanks.
First Ultras are out. Tanks a little bit exposed once again. These tanks do not have the upgrade yet. That makes them invincible, so they will die. But
yeah, it takes some big corrosive bios, but the siege tanks all getting mowed down by the Ultras, by the Lings.
We're so close. 108 against 115, but Kindness Plating more than halfway done.
Yeah,
and I really agree with the statement, Nate. He needs to take out bases.
Yeah, as long as the army supply is even, once the Ultra upgrades finish, like right now, the Marauders, yes, they can kill Ultralisks, but when those upgrades are done, that's not going to happen. He needs to get rid of the bases, needs to take out these workers.
And Violet's still got money in the bank as well, so there will be a lot of Ultras very quickly. These tanks are getting a couple of very juicy hits off on these Ravagers. Kindness Plating is almost done though, and I believe there are quite a few Ultras. One Ultra will die right before.
Really nice. MarineLorD manages to do it. GG, tying up the series. That is such a stressful position to be in. You know, I tell you what, man, having played so many games where you're going up, you're trying to kill your opponent with bio, and then the Ultras come out, the only thing that's running through your head is, when is that Kindness Plating going to finish? Wow. MarineLorD didn't have a big Liberator backbone, he didn't have a Ghost transition, he had a good amount of siege tanks, but if those Marines can't contribute to the battle the way that they did, he finds himself in a really rough spot, and viOlet, honestly, all he needed was another minute or two, but those Liberators just set MarineLorD up so well to step out of his base and push across the map.
I think MarineLorD almost can believe he won that game.
Yeah,
I think
that
that's
is
why
a super sigh of relief.
Yep. And I mean, 0-2 or 1-1. There's a world of difference in a best of 5. I can't even put in words how incredibly close and tight that those final moments were. Because even after they changed or exchanged quite a few blows, 115 supply against 110 supply, but 1400 minerals in the bank for viOlet, 500 gas, 5 bases against 3. If he hangs on, if he pushes the army back
you
one time,
survive and you've got 5 bases. Like
he wins.
Yeah, that's the thing. And you know, it is how Terran versus Zerg is being played right now. Most people prefer not to play versus Ultralisks. It's very hard to control Ghosts while stepping out on the map. There's a lot of things, you know, the Ghost snipe can be canceled by any damage it receives, and honestly, it's just a lot easier to use the Terran skills that you've been using for the last 6 years. Marine, Marauder, Micro, and then now the tank drop movement. MarineLorD made some really good decisions. Bit shaky, you know, when I look at it, like from my perspective, like as someone who plays really defensively, seeing that pool first and then still taking a little bit of damage from the Roaches was a bit here and there. And then I think the worst part in that game for MarineLorD was probably losing the 3 tanks as he was trying to defend. But
it's really funny how that worked. At first it looked like a phenomenal early game hold, and then suddenly the Link squeezed by that wall, and then it's like, okay, 1 tank falls, 2nd tank falls, and I think that MarineLorD was a little bit overwhelmed when those tanks died on the left, and then the other 2 tanks got picked up immediately. He didn't pick them up the first time, he didn't pick up those tanks, and from 5 tanks he suddenly dropped to 1, and that just changed everything. It made it a lot harder to clean up those Ravagers.
The siege tank count, All Arena is a great map for tanks because tanks are reasonably okay at locking down those positions. They're very solid against Roach Ravager, and when the map is that small, there's not too many places you can squeeze by. You know, Central Protocol, you've got 2 big angles that you can make, and viOlet used that very well. The tank count difference wasn't that extreme, but on Arena, he can put them all in that spot where they can all fire simultaneously, and viOlet's like, well, I can't really attack into this. There's no other angle for me to push in.
Yeah, I mean, rough game for viOlet, man. If you're on 5 bases, you've got all the map vision in the world.
Those 2 Liberators just completely trucked him, and that was beautiful.
And also because the Liberators forced viOlet to turn around with his army, and that allowed MarineLorD to push in a lot faster. Because imagine if they have to fight there first.
Yeah, if he pushes him out, because the creep is outside of his base, right? You try to leave your base, you're immediately on creep, then he forces you to siege, and that process takes longer than the Ultras are done.
And not just that, also you chase an army, but then he drops Corrosive Bow, you have to run back again, and that really allows viOlet to get another additional minute. And if he had 1 more minute, he would have been able to get a couple of Ultras out. So incredibly good counterattack with those 2 Liberators and that 1 drop, which is really what allowed MarineLorD to somehow, some way, I would almost say, steal that game away from viOlet, because it really seemed that viOlet had a lock on it.
Yeah, I mean, if you're viOlet, all that's going through your head is, man, if I just had a few more seconds to get Kindness Plating, like when those Ultras, 3 Ultralisks dive on top of the tanks, if those Marines can't kill the Ultras, they're going to get rid of all the tanks, and the Ravagers become so much more useful. So MarineLorD hit the perfect timing. There's no better angle that you're going to have than killing them right before they get Kindness. We're loaded into Game 3, already a nice, interesting series that we've started off our last best of 5 with. In the top right position of Dusk Towers, much more standard map, we have Millennium's MarineLorD.
Couldn't agree more, Nate. Everybody has been looking forward to this series throughout the entire day. We saw a lot of good games, but this is really the one series that got everybody excited, and so far it's delivering. Over here on the left bottom side of Dusk Towers, we're looking at the main base of our Korean/American Zerg. It is viOlet. Of course, repping Envious.
Yeah.
Been living in Atlanta, Georgia for a long time now.
If I was going to pick a game where viOlet was really going to try to grind out the long game, this is the map to do it. Trying to kill someone like MarineLorD, he's already displayed pretty good crisis management. His controls obviously been really good. This is the best map defensively in the pool. You're not going to kill someone without going for some super crazy build like Nidus, which is still here and there. We still see it there even in the highest levels in the Korean leagues as well.
I mean, this is going to be a cliche because obviously it is very important to win Game 3 in a best of 5. But I think after the 2 crazy maps out there and the score being 1-all, I feel if this is a normal game that plays out in a very straight up way, the player that wins this one will get a massive mental advantage for those final 2 games of this best of 5. Because it's like, all right, you know, you want a crazy map, I want a crazy map. But this was the most straight up map out there together with Orbital Shipyard. But I think this one is even more fair in this matchup.
Yeah,
so if you win this, you deserve it.
If you think about Terran versus Zerg, like this is one of those maps where it's actually not that bad for Terran in late game because you can really easily defend both your 4th and your 5th without being pulled too far out of position by things like Ultralisks as well.
And I also think if you have a crazy amount of Liberators, it becomes very hard even for Ultras to make their way across the map because there's only one way.
Yeah, Dusk Tower is sponsored by Freedom. It is a great map. This is like the split map. And I mean, I've seen it in almost every matchup. I've seen Neeb split this map in PvP with every single base taken and cannons down the middle. It's just so good defensively that we do see more of that Liberator Go style here. I still think very straightforward map though, depending on which 4th base the Zerg takes, they can make themselves really vulnerable. So you can kind of do whatever you want, and that this is more one of those standard maps really.
A modern Newkirk Precinct.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's reasonable. I feel like Newkirk Precinct also had a pretty direct attack path that was maybe a little bit shorter, but I tend to agree.
Alright, so far the Reaper, of course, not able to do a whole lot yet. Got 1 link, but I would be surprised. A lot of minerals in the bank there for MarineLorD, but nothing.
Yeah, maybe a fast 3rd CC.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of looking at.
He hasn't really seen anything that he needs to sweat it over, right? And he's still getting the Marines back home, so I can see why you'd do it. Widowmine, okay, yeah, instead of the tank. So this should give him enough money to go for a fast 3rd command center. There's not much to really be concerned about. If you're a Terra player and you see that your opposing Zerg has those queens out and no 3rd base, you should be looking for a Roach Warren or a lair. And there is a lair on the way for viOlet, but I feel like all MarineLorD needs to do is just make sure to run through that checklist. In his head, he's like, well, there's really only 2 things. If he doesn't have a 3rd right now, either I'm really far ahead or he's going to do something aggressive.
He's like, I know my Reaper control is pretty good, but normally, you
know. Most Zergs aren't just going to drop 2 evolution chambers and wait for speed to finish and be like, no, I'm okay with just a really late 3rd. Like, no, you're going to go for a lair. You're going to try Nidus or Fast Muta or something like that. Obviously, they're going to go for the 3rd base.
Does he even have Zergling speed?
Yeah, I think he got it. Yeah.
He did get
he is one of those weird guys that cancels it sometimes, but he definitely got it this game. So.
I would have been very shocked to see that. I guess that would have been a forced Nidus all in then if he would have done that. But
I also like that MarineLorD just doesn't build Hellions versus viOlet because viOlet's not, you know, if he's going to be aggressive, it's not going to be like a 2.5 base Ling Bane all in either.
I love that Funka's highlighting this as well because I don't know how it happens, but somehow everywhere that viOlet puts his Overlord, a medevac flies by. I think MarineLorD's getting a little tilted by it. Normally, if you go for a drop, you want to hit as fast and quick as possible, but
and it is going to be a fast Spire. So this just comes down to how good is MarineLorD feeling? Because if he's feeling, and if he's in a good mental state, in his mind he should be like, all right, that 3rd base wasn't super fast. What could he be going for? Is it something aggressive? This game, it's not. It is a fast Spire, and I don't think that his build is necessarily bad for that because he's already building Liberators to harass, but he can also use them to help defend.
Any units in the natural for viOlet? Couple Zerglings.
Couple cheeky lings.
But you could drop a mine over here.
Nothing too much. I think at this point you just want to drop the mine here, burrow it, and then use the Marines to just poke at this hatch until they send their lings and just hope to get a good mine shot on.
You gotta always be careful because if the mine is over here, it could splash all over your Marines and also over your medevac.
Yeah, gotta be ready to load into the medevac. You just don't want the Queens right now. The Queens only care about trying to hit that medevac and soften it up, whereas everything else obviously wants to deal with the Widow Mine and Marines.
That first Liberator might be a little bit annoying. This time the Widow Mine will burrow. Decent split there by viOlet. Didn't really lose.
Good save. Now the Liberator has made its way over to that main base, but with a Spore Crawler and a Queen, it's not happening. The Reaper came back to be more annoying, though.
Let's not forget that the Spire is about to finish off. It's important for MarineLorD that he doesn't just sacrifice these Liberators. I love this siege positioning. The Queen has to go all the way around this hatchery. No, you can't walk into it. I think he's going to end up losing a Queen. And at the same time, MarineLorD's still doing some work over here as well. Great Liberator harass.
This is actually really phenomenal, considering that it was such a fast Spire. The fact that the Liberator gets so many drone kills, and causes so much disruption, and the Queen, like you mentioned, while this Marine drop is still here, like the Mutas will pop. Okay, Medevac's going away. Liberator probably shouldn't be able to get any more damage done either, but here it is. 2, 3, 4 drones over here. He tunnel visioned a little bit there on the on getting the Medevac, and he's headed straight for that. So the next Liberator is going to come home. This is really important because honestly, Mutalisk openings aren't really strong, and we already see viOlet transitioning out of it into that Roach Warren, but he's still getting some more work.
Yeah, he gets another drone over there. I like this as well.
Canceling these from being built. If you're in a position like this, it's actually really smart. Like you can kill those eggs, you can kill larva, they one-shot the larva, but now he knows, right? Like if you're MarineLorD, you can't really push out with drops and such because Zerg production, right? Like you want to have a lot of Marines. So instead of building Medevacs to go for that harass, you just build more Liberators, and then they can't touch you because Liberators are good at defending against the Mutalisks, but you can also set them up in a siege position to defend against Roaches.
I think you already said the most important thing though. When viOlet opens up 2-base Spire, he does not really want to take any damage at all against those Liberators, and somehow MarineLorD managed to do quite a bit of damage. So it's safe to say that MarineLorD has to be very, very happy with how this game is open.
The build that viOlet's build should have been good against, it took a lot of damage from anyway.
And I mean, Mutas are not horrible, but at the same time, it's not the unit you want to mess anymore. You know, the days of making 35 Mutalisks against Terran are long gone.
Like, honestly, if we look at the way viOlet's played out this start, it's kind of like a classical anti-mech build. You know, you open Mutas to force out Thors, and then you go into Roaches, and he is forcing out some Liberators, but, you know, Liberators are still really good against Roaches, and honestly, with the economic damage that MarineLorD's done to viOlet, if he just plays this cool, calm, collectively, he should be all right moving into the mid-game.
He might still have some nightmares of going up against MarineLorD in Heart of the Swarm, because back then it was always mech. It was Mass Raven.
MarineLorD was he was a mecher for sure in the olden days.
That's your mean name. Behind enemy lines.
Dirty spies.
Sleeping on the job, obviously. You know, we've got a gun, just don't use it.
Yeah. Not, and we also only have 5 health. Literally anything can kill us by pushing us over.
I mean, that's kind of true. We don't really exercise a whole lot. So.
We also don't have, you know, super suits. not yet, at least. Not yet.
viOlet is up in supply, but it's a little bit deceiving, guys, because Mutalisk and Roaches in a straight-up fight right now against the army that MarineLorD has are not going to do phenomenal. If he gets a couple of Ravages, then the dream is alive. It's important for MarineLorD that he doesn't fight when viOlet really wants him to fight.
The most important thing MarineLorD could do here is shut down this creep spread and then hit that 4th base from the northeast side. If he tries to push down the creep lane and loses his army out to the Roach Ravager without denying the 4th, he's in a bad spot.
He could be overwhelmed, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. But he's playing this really smart. He is going to the north side. The Roaches and Ravagers won't have the creep speed benefit. There are still quite a few of them, but it also allows him to run away more easily, too.
Widow Mines will get hits off on that entire army, even though they do get picked off. At the same time, this army from MarineLorD is a little bit trapped, though. He's going to drop the tank on the high ground. I do like that move. Mutalisk is going to try to work on it as well.
I think he's got to lift up, let the Liberators fight the Mutas, lift up at the Medevacs, and just boost the hell out of there. So the Liberators fight and save everybody else. They died for their freedom, Roddy.
The supply is scary, though. Like, I really feel when you play against this many Roaches and Hive is not inside, I don't feel like fighting with 140 supply is ideal for the Terran. I really think you want to get, you know, up to 170. That makes such a big difference.
I mean, Bio just scales so well against this as you approach 200, especially.
Do you think Fighters is going to try to end the game over here?
It seems he's in a pretty committed position. Like, he's getting the Infestation Pit, but I don't think he's going to reach Hive Tech in time to actually do anything. So I don't actually mind him trying to really make something happen. I can't say it's going to work, though. It really comes down to the control. Is he going to get the bile shots off? No Marines are loaded into those bunkers. He's going to step up the ramp. He does have so many tanks in the back. He also has the Liberators there as well. Actually, just looks like one siege tank, but I think with the bunkers, this should be enough. And he's also just eating a lot of Liberator shots, too.
Well, the corrosive balls did land on top of those Liberators, and unfortunately for MarineLorD, there were a couple of Widow Mines below those Liberators as well, so he lost those as well. But in the end, it seems like he will stabilize.
He lost his buffer for the Ravagers. This is just the thing is, you used to trade out some of these Marines Marauders versus Roaches, and it was always cost effective for the Zerg. But Ravagers are expensive enough that you can lose all these Marauders if you kill these Ravagers. you got a cash money position.
And there is, of course, that drop over here on the left side. That drop got delayed a little bit because I think he pressed
nice,
F2.
Though. It's nice, though, that he sees these roaches coming out with the tunneling clause because it's immediately going to click in his mind again, just like on Central Protocol. Oh, I need to get a turret at the entrance of both bases because if Violet's able to just burrow some roaches and spread them out, things are going to go south real fast.
If you guys wonder, like, how is he supposed to see that roaches with tunneling claws look a tiny bit different?
They have those glowing spikes. The brightest, most colorful part on the top of the roaches is not there unless you have burrow move. So he should recognize this. His 2-2 is finished, but I don't see turrets going up. It looks like he just wants to push, and this is where things could go. I mean, this is where MarineLorD could lose the game.
I'm not sure if you see that, though. If you're playing a game, like, I think only now...
it sticks. I think Terran players are pretty well conditioned to notice that sticking out. I don't know. I find it hard to believe MarineLorD could miss it, but he's probably just so distracted trying to go out and do something right now.
I mean, he did have a missing turret that maybe was for the Mutalisk, but it helps out. Actually, plenty of bio units. Cleans up all of these roaches without losing a whole lot. And at the same time, he's making a pretty big push over here. That tank is very exposed. He has a Widowmine, picks it up again.
His micro in this best of 5 has just been superb, and keeping the tanks alive. Obviously the most expensive, most powerful units in this composition against a heavy roach style. He's building 20 more roaches. We have pathogen glands coming in. No hive though from what I saw, so it is going to be a commitment to Roach, Ravager. Oh no, he does have the hive, okay. So it's going to be a commitment to Roach, Ravager, and Fester, but he will have that Ultra follow-up. However, Ghost Academy's done too.
The thing is, he has no bank this time, and the supplies, I mean, right now MarineLorD even has a supply lead, now an even bigger one, which is very different, because before Violet was up 30-40 supply, and I already said it's a little bit deceiving with roaches against Terran. Well, right now it's a lot more deceiving. MarineLorD's army is way better. Currently, it's way better than Violet's army, and that was kind of cute.
Yeah. And those burrowed roaches get that health back real fast. So
this is going to be a rough hold for Violet, man.
I do like that MarineLorD is getting the follow-up ready behind this too, though. He is building ghosts at home, so he won't be completely caught off guard, even if he were to have to deal with the switch into Ultralisks. So the Marines and Marauders continuing to fight. This army composition is leaning a bit too heavily in roaches, though, for him to actually have enough vials to take it out.
Look at the amount of Marauders that MarineLorD has over here. Violet is down. It's by 26 Marauders, as Funka is showing us as well. This is just a great fight for MarineLorD.
Yeah, I really like this, because this just sets himself up so well for everything else that he could have had to go against. And Violet pulls the drones, changes his mind, but I think he's going to need to pull everything. GG, MarineLorD goes up 2-1. Against the Korean Zerg, and everything in that game just came down to MarineLorD executing very well, getting a tremendous amount of damage done with the Liberator in the drop at the very beginning.
Safe to say, out of the 3 games we've seen so far, this was by far and away the best game for MarineLorD.
Yeah.
And that actually should give him a lot of confidence that he probably excels at the relatively standard maps out there. You know, maybe a Ruins, a Dust Towers, and of course Orbital Shipyard as well. Because I always feel that Dusk and Orbital are similar. Maybe in TvZ it's not as much as in some of the other maps out there, but still, if you win Dust Towers, you should feel pretty damn confident about Orbital Shipyard as well.
Dust Towers is the map where it's just so hard to do anything really weird to catch your opponent off guard that, you know, if you are comfortable in a matchup, that is where your best odds are usually going to be. And to some extent, that's also Orbital Shipyard, but really great play and just great use of just picking Violet apart. You know, the Koreans are normally what we look at for like the masters of multitasking, being able to handle multiple things at once, but MarineLorD just did a really great job of hitting with the drop, hitting with the Liberator, and making a 2-base muted build look bad against early harass.
What I loved perhaps the most was the little bit of patience he displayed. He didn't just sacrifice the medevac. He tried, couldn't find an opening. Well, let's wait until those Liberators arrive, and that's when I'm going to go for it. And he did a lot of damage.
He got even more value at it. So really good play so far by MarineLorD. He is now up 2-1 in this best of 5, our last best of 5 of the evening, and we will finish this after a very short break. We'll be right back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. We are already in the next game. Kev, we were in such a rush. We were so excited. Even production was just like, no, skip everything. We need to go right into this game. We're loaded into Ruins of Ceres in the northeast. We have the red Terran player currently up 2-1. He's Millennium's MarineLorD.
Looked great in that last game. Looked a little bit shaky in game number 1. Didn't look flawless in game 2, but he looked great in game number 3. Over here on the right bottom side, Nate. Yeah, go ahead.
He still looks great sleeveless. That's all I wanted to say.
He does. He's been going to the gym and he's lifting. Over here we're looking at the main base of our Korean-American Zerg. It is viOlet. Of course, down 1-2 in this series. Gonna win 2 maps in a row to advance to the quarterfinals. For the people who don't know, of course, there is money on the line. They already secured themselves $6,000. If you make it to the quarterfinals, you improve that to $8,000. That's nice. But I think what's even nicer for these guys, Nate, is the amount of WCS points.
That's right.
If you get eliminated in this round, you pick up 300 points. You know, that's decent. That's going to help. If you make it to the quarterfinals, that's already 600 WCS points. You know, you double the amount of points. And all of these guys, I mean, if you think of viOlet, if you think of MarineLorD, these are realistic contenders for a top 5 spot in the WCS rankings towards the end of the year and make it to BlizzCon.
Yeah, that's a really important thing to keep in mind. Even, you know, the winner of this tournament overall has a direct seed into the global playoffs at the end of the year. But, you know, you've got guys like, even though like Petit Drogo has been knocked out of this tournament, I think he was still going into this, had the most points obviously from his win in DreamHack Leipzig. So that's just one of the things that it's not necessarily just about making one big win unless you can do it at one of, you know, these few championships. But consistency overall will reward you very well by being able to make deep runs, which Violet's already kind of done to some extent.
Yep, basically 2 quarterfinals at the summer or spring championships will give you more points than winning 1 DreamHack.
Yeah, these tournaments are the big kahunas, so it's not even just about getting the victories. And like you said, it's those WCS circuit points, which are separate from the rankings of the Korean players as well. So there will be players that are guaranteed to be able to go in just from those points without needing to have won any of these spots either.
All right, well, the Reaper made its way across the map. Of course, nothing too crazy is going to happen. He's going to spots like, wow, that's a few more links than I saw in the previous game of you. Ruins of Ceres is, of course, kind of a weird map. We've got vertical spawn positions. Does that mean anything in particular, Nate, for TvZ?
Well, I mean, that, you know, the starport's probably going to be in MarineLorD's main, very direct medevac path, but I think if you're MarineLorD, you're just happy it's not cross-spawn. You know, your Zerg player has less paths to take to get to your base. The fastest one for them to attack you is going to be, you know, the one you're defending the most.
So old school viOlet would definitely make a big spell of links on a map like this and then just tries to overrun the natural and try to pick off as many SCVs as he possibly could. This time we do see a Hellion opening, and I think on a map like this, Nate, I think it's very smart. I love the builds that MarineLorD is picking. He's not playing like a robot. He's actually thinking about the maps that he's playing on and adjusting his build orders to the maps.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned that. You know, this is just a map that you have these wide open spaces, but roaches are a little bit more tricky to make this work. You have a ramp down to your natural. You have a ramp down outside of your natural. So holding on against stuff is not that difficult to do. Now, I don't really believe MarineLorD got too much of a look into the main base of viOlet, but viOlet's not really doing anything tricky. So there's not much to worry about. He's barely mining gas. I think he's just going to take this third, and then he could move into evolution chambers. He could go lair first. He has options. But with Hellions, you know, MarineLorD also has a really great way to scout and also deny creep spread.
And let's see when he goes up to layer, because I still know that viOlet is a tricky Zerg. So far it's nothing but drone, so it definitely looks like a macro-oriented opening. But it could also just be 3-4 Overlords in the production tab anytime soon, and then he's going to go crazy on Ro16. Actually, that's not going to be the case, as now he does start the layer, so it is going to be just pure focus on macro for viOlet. He doesn't want to put it all on the line with some crazy aggressive play over here.
No, but I do like seeing just this reasonable setup. I'm guessing with the Roachhorn viOlet, so far in this series, he has shown that he wants to just be a Roach Ravager player. We haven't really seen the use of Banelings in this best of 5 at all. And to be honest, with the way that Liberators shut down Mutalisks so hard, it is really difficult to play that style versus any Terran that's good. I love this fast medevac, though.
Yeah, this is bad for viOlet, man. He does have a couple of Roaches on the way, 7 in total, so maybe their head's at the right spot. He's also going to try to drop in a couple of Zerglings, but MarineLorD picked up on it immediately, and viOlet does not know about these Hellions. The main base, Nate, is so exposed.
Oh, just go for it. All those drones are so lined up. He can get massive shots. 3 picked off so far, going up to 5, and still a lot of them are just one or two volleys away from these Hellions. I think at the same time he was microing at the third base.
Yep. And let's see what he's doing over here. He has to defend his bunker, or he has to defend his natural, but he's doing that.
He must have looked back to do that.
A queen? I mean, that's good. You don't want to have Zerglings in your natural, so
no,
I definitely think a successful drop so far for MarineLorD.
Yeah, he gets a reasonable number of little drone kills here. He doesn't take damage on the counter harass, and things I'm mostly looking at. We have a third command center on the way in Roach speed.
Spotted the drop Overlord as well, cancelled that plan of viOlet, so I would say so far so good. Could have got more here. I really think if he would have maybe tried to get one of those super money shots up, but no Spore Crawlers anywhere.
Yeah, I was going to say no Spores, and there's no Ravagers either, so this Liberator could come park itself on this natural mineral line. This is a great map for Liberators, even better for some of the really aggressive Liberator range rushes. And look at this, just so constantly hitting from multiple points. Really stressing that multitasking like we talked about earlier.
Yep, all of these drones not mining. No drones mining in the natural because they're Liberated. No drones mining in the third base. viOlet is taking a lot of indirect economic damage here. He may not be losing a whole lot of drones, but all of the drones that he has are not actually doing what they're supposed to do.
And think about it this way, even if he only, it's like, okay, the Liberator sieges, he loses one drone, you know, he's not killing the Liberator, but at the same time he's also pulling other drones away, so it's effectively 5 workers removed from mining every time he has to reposition.
Sacrifice the Queen there as well. Has to be careful that he doesn't step in the circle. Ooh.
The circle of death. Step into the ring, Kev.
I'm not ready.
Yeah, a lot of training before that, especially against Liberator.
I didn't make the weight. Couldn't make the weight cut. I tried, but
Liberators only need about 1 or 2 punches against most units anyway. These Roaches with the counterattack, though. Medivac shows up to help out these 3 Marauders, but some SCV lives may be taken here to help hold on this natural expansion.
There's quite a few Roaches, though. Good pickups on these Marauders so far. It's very important. MarineLorD keeps his Marauders alive, and I think we can trust him on doing so. More Roaches arrive, so it's very important. Maybe set up this Liberator over here. The Marauders are so low in HP, Nate.
Yeah,
all of them are still alive.
The micro on the Marauders has been really good, and the best part is with the low range of Roaches, I love this. Just pull back in the Liberation Zone. A few more SCVs do die, but hey man, he's got 3 command centers. The worker count, it's favoring viOlet, but then we ask ourselves, where is the tech for him? And so far, it's non-existent.
And let's not forget that the upgrades this time much better for MarineLorD than most of those other games. Every other game so far we saw viOlet ahead in upgrades. This time 1-1 more than halfway done, +1 attack just started for viOlet. That may have looked like a successful attack, but I don't think it was a successful attack at all. I think he needed to do way more there with those 7, 8, 9 Roaches that he just threw away.
Yeah, I definitely wasn't expecting MarineLorD to be consistently pumping out those Marauders like he was, and I think a bit of a mistake here. He's building 2 armories, not really anything you should do in Legacy of the Void. Probably just thinking about that 2-2 upgrades a bit much. Liberator does come down here, and
wow, look at that Queen.
Just a drone.
She jumped on the grenade for those drones.
She stepped into the ring with half her life, but she was able to get that last punch in.
Picked up one Overlord over there. MarineLorD is supply block once more. 101 supply. Not a single depot on the way, Nate. This is a big one. It probably, well, either you sacrifice some units or you call down for supply depots.
There might be a call down available or 2. It's always funny to see that pointed out because we actually had quite a few call downs in today's games. Even from Polt, you know?
In your ladder games as well, man.
Well, I mean, that's... I don't think of it as call down supply. I think of it as Blizzard gave me a really great skin for my depots that I just love to show off.
Okay. MarineLorD is being active with these 2 Medivacs over here. He might actually be able to get a counter on this 4th hatchery. He's going to try to sing it out, and he does get the counter. Very well done. And this map, though, Nate, if you don't have Mutalisk, I know Mutalisk is not super common, but so annoying to defend against this with just ground units.
It's always been the biggest weakness of either Roach play or Roach Hydra, and even in Legacy of the Void, Roach Ravager, is you have to deal with all those drop plays. And you're pointing this out to me right now, Kev, those double Overlord drops could also be used. They were reasonably effective on Arena.
Yep, he's going to try to drop 8 Roaches. Not sure if MarineLorD has units in the main base waiting for it. He's using a couple of these bio units as well to pick off a couple of those creep tumors. Started 2-2. Double +2 attack is on the way, but this time no armor upgrades for the Roaches. So the Roaches will still deal damage, but if MarineLorD gets 2-2 upgrades on his bio, okay, actually he does start +2 armor. +2 armor is way ahead of...
Yeah, so it's kind of the other ways. He's going to be a little bit more survivability, but
didn't see it, sorry.
Won't be dealing out as much damage. It's all good.
Long day of StarCraft, 7 best of 5, you know.
Yeah, well, MarineLorD's moved up to 2 factories as well, so we will see a lot of siege tanks. This map is more open than Arena, less open than Central, and the Roaches.
Nothing here, actually, this time.
Yeah, maybe some of these Marines and Marauders are going to come back. It's important not to pull too much of your stuff up here because it is really risky. There we see those corrosive biles being tossed. He's looking for an opening. He's trying to stretch MarineLorD out in a position where he can attack. And you know what? Fighting away from the tanks usually is okay, but MarineLorD's not going to take a full fight there just yet.
I mean, MarineLorD loses a couple of SCVs here and there, but...
and the Roaches are still in his base, by the way, because of the burrow. So there are a few you know, cloaked roaches, as it were, skirting around.
I would love to throw up a missile turret in every single base. Missile turret's quite cheap, and once those units are here, like, they'll never go away. There's always another roach somewhere in the corner of your base tucked away. Super frustrating, so throwing up missile turret's definitely the right choice. Hive tech has started. That's, of course, a very important tech. So from this point on, you could say MarineLorD, he's on the clock.
Yeah, at this point, I will say his siege tank production has been high enough, and tanks are a great backbone against ultras, but you still don't want to let the Zerg player just run rampant with that. And viOlet, you know, the harass is the most important thing here, because what he's basically saying is, I know I don't have good anti-air, I know I don't have a good way to deal with your drops, but if I'm harassing you, it's less likely that you're going to be sending those drops to my base.
Yeah, but it seems that viOlet is going to try to do something over here with all of his roaches and ravages. Obviously, he doesn't want to commit to a fight with Hive Tech halfway done. +2 attack is about to finish up, but the upgrades are ready for MarineLorD as well. I don't think viOlet really wants to commit here. I think he just wants to scare him, maybe drop a couple of corrosive balls.
Yeah, I mean, he could trade out a good amount of his supply as well if the opportunity were to present itself. I think one thing that's definitely hurting him, of course, is, you know, he could have spread himself out a bit more between those two angles, but keep in mind, there's not as many roaches here, and those Ravagers do go down much faster than roaches. They have the same armor amount, but they also have a lot less hit points.
I mean, I think this was a little bit of a mistake for viOlet, because now he's forced to reproduce 29 roaches, while I think he much rather save that money for Ultralisk. He still has a little bit of money in the bank, though, and Ultras are, of course, long ways off, but he lost a lot there, Nate.
Yeah, and the biggest thing, of course, is now that he's getting back map control and is sort of being able to push a crossway, we can use drops. Great on burrow timing.
That's a sick
all
move
the
there
siege
by
tanks
viOlet.
get blindsided.
Very well done. Does he have enough damage output to deal with the bio units, though? It seems like he has. These roaches picked off 3 out of the 5 tanks over there. What a great move by viOlet.
So many dead tanks. Tanks is going to siege up, but already immediately collapse upon. But there we go. The Liberator counter-harass that we kind of saw already before does go and do some damage into the main base. The Ultralisk Cavern is done. We have no chitinous plating yet. +3 armor is on the way. No Ultralisk being built yet either.
Really good job so far by MarineLorD, dodging the majority of these corrosive balls. Really haven't ate a whole lot of big shots.
I really feel like viOlet should have taken a 5th base sooner as well. With all the minerals that he has, his gas income is actually not going to scale crazily fast to actually rebuild his next wave, since the main and natural should be low for both players right now.
And if you take a look at MarineLorD's vision, he never really had any map presence in the left bottom side of the map. Then of course you could say that maybe viOlet would be worried that he would not be able to defend that 5th base. So he would, of course, if you take it, you have to defend one more location.
This game is in a tricky spot because the tech for viOlet is looking great as he gets chitinous plating and moves into +1, but MarineLorD is not so economically far behind that he can't build what he needs to deal with them.
I think it's safe to say that the MarineLorD wanted to do way more with this move out that we just saw, and those 5 roaches, they just completely threw him. They completely caught him off guard.
If he has just 5 more siege tanks with that attack, that is, I mean, that's possibly game-ending the same way that we saw on the last map where he was able to break him as he's trying to make that transition.
Absolutely phenomenal move by viOlet. Can't emphasize enough on how important that burrow move that we just saw was there.
Yep, and MarineLorD is going to try to secure his 4th base. We have some Lings being annoying here. Of course, that burrow just gives you so much utility, and it's really, really annoying. It's really frustrating. Ultras are coming out. We will see them with chitinous plating, which means for MarineLorD, he has mixed in a reasonable modicum of Marauders into his army, but the Liberators and the tanks would have to carry him through now, and he only has 4 tanks, this 4th one just finishing.
1 Liberator.
I mean, he needs another starport. He hasn't built the Ghost Academy that we saw, or at least hasn't made the switch into Ghost that we saw on the last map. He was very ready in advance, but he's got to realize at some point, he's like, hey man, your opponent is going to go for Hive. Your Liberator was parked over the Hive. He knows there's a Hive.
I would love to see MarineLorD pick up a couple of units and send them via the left side of the map, because you got to figure out, you know, when does my opponent have my 5th base? Even if you can't do too much about it, it's just something that you need to know. He throws down the scan, he sees the Ultralisk Cavern, and he also saw it wasn't wiggling, and that's when your heart skips a beat, Nate.
Yeah, I don't think he forgot chitinous. He probably has.
It's done. It's done.
Man, this is the scary army. This is the army that ends many a TvZ. I mean, those Ultras can just soak up so many shots. Then the Ravagers come in. They drop their corrosive bombs on top of everything. And, well, that's usually how it ends. Here we go. Ultras are going to come in. They are leading the charge. Most of the damage they've taken so far have actually been from their own Ravagers. One Ultra does get picked up on the right side. But the thing is, the Ultras, they just soaked up so much damage, and all the Ravagers and Lings just get to come in, freely pushing. And, yeah, I mean, we got Ultras. GG.
viOlet evens up the series. It's definitely not an easy game, had to work for it, but just a strong mid-game and delaying that super important push by MarineLorD. Yeah. I really think
killing those tanks, that was like a game-winning move.
Secured him victory, really.
Yeah, he eliminated the one opportunity that MarineLorD really had to attack across the map, and at the same time, MarineLorD did that in lieu of getting a faster 4th base, which might have given him the economy that he needed to actually deal with those Ultralisks, because thing is, it's kind of like how I mentioned earlier. If you want to deal with a Roach Ravager max out, you need a lot of Marines, tanks, and Marauders, you know, and as well as Medivacs. But that army is not the army that deals very well with Ultralisks, because you want instead Liberators and you want Ghosts. But Liberators and Ghosts can also, you know, they're a bit more difficult to use against Roach Ravagers, since you can use Crocibile, hit the Liberators, and then the Ghost Snipe gets canceled by any damage they take. So it's really important to balance out when you make that tech switch, because if you switch too early, you die to the Roach Ravager push. If you switch too late, or you don't have the money to switch, then the Ultralisks really shine as well.
I completely agree. I really wonder what the last map is going to be. I assume that MarineLorD has vetoed Lateral Crest, right? Because we saw all the... Or Prion?
They could have vetoed Prion.
Yeah?
I mean, Prion is, I'd say, the #1 map in this pool that would favor Violet style, just because the amount of gold minerals that you get for Roach Ravager would be sick.
And what do you think that Violet vetoed then?
Maybe Orbital. Orbital, if the last map were to be Orbital, I could see MarineLorD opening with another 3-Rack Reaper build, just because Roach builds actually have a bit of a tricky time. I think the best way to handle it is with link control, but we'll have to see. The thing is, Reaper builds are good on both of the maps that we just talked about. Lateral Crest is actually not even that bad of a map, because the
cross map though, I think
cross map hurts. But if you think about it this way, like if you're trying to defend with tanks, the choke point into your third base is small enough that 4 or 5 tanks, like you don't want to try to move a maxed out army of Roach Ravager through that point, you know. So
I thought you just want to say, well, if you think about it like this, there's only a 33% chance you get cross map. It's like, you know, didn't know you had that much gamble in you.
I'm not a man of odds, Roddy.
All right, we're getting ready. It's awesome to see that this series...
Except on Central Protocol.
Yeah. It's awesome to see that this series that we, you know, really hyped up is going down to the rubber match, Game 5. That's all what we want to see. And so far, I think the games have been very good, have been very entertaining with a lot of cool moves on both sides.
It's been a good... We've gotten to see a pretty good range. You know, we've had the early aggression, we've had the macro sort of into that late game style, the back and forth, the sick Marine tank micro. I mean, I think one thing the MarineLorD has definitely shown that I've really enjoyed watching, and particularly this best of 5, has just been his control. He's done a really good job with getting in Violet's face. Even in that last game, despite the fact that he lost it, getting that Hellion drop inside unscouted, while also getting the Hellions and the Reaper into the third base. Like, he still created a lot of moments where Violet messes up for 1 second or doesn't do that counterattack with the Lings. Maybe those Hellions focus fire down another big clump of drones. Instead of 6 drones, it's 12, you know? So Violet, equally on the same time, has been playing ball here.
No, I totally agree. Like the Hellion drop, I think it was successful, but it could have been way more successful. If you know, if
that was 4GG, the game.
If he would have gone for it just a tiny bit quicker, because I kind of felt like he was cruising around on creep. That obviously alerted Violet.
I think the biggest thing was his Hellions weren't being microed the whole time, and I do believe that's because he looked back to pull SCVs to repair that bunker at the front. Since I don't think you would just leave SCVs there for no reason.
But that's of course always what you want to do in StarCraft, right? You want to create multiple problems for your opponent. If Violet is just
and that's to Violet's credit that he recognizes, hey, I need to distract this guy because he could just kill all my drones right now with those Hellions. So,
could not agree more. We're about to jump into the final game of this series, the final game of the day. Of course, the winner of this series will move on to the quarterfinals, where he will face either Masa or Snoot tomorrow. That's going to be awesome as well.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of interesting to think about like those matchups and how they have played out before. There's been some pretty interesting series. Masa and Violet obviously hit each other quite a bit. That's been one of my, on the side note, favorite things just to see in this tournament, and in a lot of the, DreamHack Leipzig as well. The players that play usually a lot in the NA region going up against the Europeans. Because, if we get something like Violet versus, Snoot, we don't see that too much. Or like MarineLorD versus Masa, very uncommon matchup as well.
But awesome, because Masa has been receiving a lot of credits in the North American scene for having godlike TvT.
Yeah.
So that would be super cool. But of course, Masa is going to have his hands full at Snoot. There will be 3 more matches, of course, in the round of 16. The other 2 will be one that I know you're super hyped for, Hydra versus Neep.
Oh, yeah.
And of course, the last one of the round of 16 is going to be Eleza versus Iasonu. And all those matches will be played tomorrow before we start the quarterfinals.
Yeah. And just so it does look like we probably had an orbital shipyard veto from viOlet, and from our Terran player it was probably a veto on Prion Terraces. However, loaded into the final map of this best of 5, one man advances, one man goes home here at the WCS Winter Championships. In the bottom right position, we have the red Terran player representing France and Millennium. He is MarineLorD.
Not sure how happy he will be when he finds viOlet's base to see that it was always 33%. Over here on the left top side, that is of course the man I just mentioned already. It is viOlet representing Envious. And he's going to be a little bit more pleased because I think horizontal spawning positions on this map can become very tricky, and even vertical I think can be quite tricky for Zerg, but cross map is pretty sweet.
Yeah, this is ideal for viOlet. He's got the longest possible distance to his opponent's base, and just the way that this map is laid out, he can kind of run Lings or Roaches around the center. He doesn't have to go directly down to reach his opponent's base, and it's possible that MarineLorD, if he wants to go for an attack, he might just rally down towards the watchtower in the dead middle, and then you can very easily flank or go for around it. And we've already seen viOlet do that so well with the burrowed Roaches that he's busted out in, already a couple of the games in this series.
Yeah, I've seen quite a few TvZs lately where it just seems that Terrans are able to put up a phenomenal fight on maps like Dusk and Orbital, but the moment they have to play on Larolac and it's cross map, they just seem a little hopeless. And viOlet is a very fast player, so he will always be active with units on the map. And if MarineLorD wants to just push, there will always be a counterattack. He really has to be on top of his depots as well, make sure to raise the wall if there are Lings running around. I think this is going to be a very, very tough challenge for MarineLorD. Different spawning positions, I would have had a lot more fate, but I think cross map, that's going to be one hell of a battle.
Yeah, I agree. This is definitely the best spawning positions on this map for Zerg, but MarineLorD has impressed me enough in this series. I'm more so interested in just seeing how he kind of adapts to it. He's shown a very intelligent, respectful sort of style of play with just how on point he has been with handling all the weird things that come his way. So maybe we get something similar to last game, maybe we don't. There
are two playstyles that MarineLorD eventually can go for, right? And that's either try to make a crazy army or a crazy strong army on 3 bases and just try to end the game there, something we saw in Arena. Or he plays super full macro where he goes 4 or 5 bases himself and he tries to get an answer for those very scary Ultralisks, which obviously consists of like Ghosts and Liberators and whatnot.
So,
but do you think he has the confidence to sing it out like that?
I don't think so, and it's for the reasons that you've already mentioned. The way that this map is laid out, okay, main natural third, you've got great choke points, right? Terran can get up to 3 bases, not too many problems to worry about in terms of Zerg hitting you early, but if you're viOlet, like, there's just so much open ground. Like, how is a Terran going to attack you with Ghosts and Liberators when you can go around the side, prevent those snipes from being cast? Of course, if MarineLorD executes perfectly, it's always possible that he can make it work. But, for example, if this is Dusk Towers, you have, like, the choke point with the ramp by the 4th base. You have the cliff that you can put the tanks underneath by the other 4th. You have a lot more positions that you can kind of make work with those forces. But you're going to take open fights on this map pretty often.
Is he going to go for a Banshee?
I think it makes sense. viOlet's played with enough Roaches on this map. He needs to kind of get something done, but I mean, it could also just be, yeah, actually, I think a Banshee makes most sense.
You think Cloak Banshees as well? Most likely.
Might as well.
Might as well,
if it's a fast lair, so now I'm like, please God, no, but it would still be a reasonable choice, assuming that, MarineLorD isn't a wizard. He doesn't know that the lair's on the way.
Well, no, nothing but drones so far by viOlet. Not sure if viOlet is thinking of this, though. I think it's hard to solely, expect Cloaked Banshees if you haven't seen them in 4 games in a row. And most of the time in game number 5, especially after spotting these Hellions early on, you probably expect something very similar to what you saw in Runes of Ceres, right? A couple of Hellions in one of the bases, 4 Hellion drop in your main. That would all make sense. If I'm viOlet right now, I would not be thinking about Cloaked Banshees immediately, but that's a very good reason why I'm sitting here. That's because I'm not viOlet.
Yeah, the thing is, like, Cloaked Banshees can still be so effective. If you're up against someone who does this, it's a really great way to force them into switching it up, because viOlet is probably going to want to go for that big Roach Ravager opening into Hive, like he's been doing so far every game in this series. But if your opponent gets up to 2, 3, 4 Banshees, you're going to be forced to knock a spot. And already very aggressive. He's indicated with this armory that he's just going to go for a really big Hellbat Banshee attack and then probably start stim behind it. But if he doesn't get some serious work done here, he's putting a lot of eggs in one basket with this Hellbat Hellbat Banshee
Okay,
attack.
so these queens are starting to run a little bit low on HP, and now the Banshee is going to show up as well. There is one Spore Crawler, but that Spore Crawler was going to go down, I believe, or is going down all the way into the main base. So there is no detection over here, but there is an Overseer morphing, and the fact that there are still 3 queens, these queens need to fall, otherwise this Banshee will not be able to do the damage it's looking for.
Killed the high energy queen is the most important thing
He's
to notice.
getting it
So
all,
no
3 of them.
transfuse. All the queens go down. There's no Spore Crawler there. Yeah, Banshee,
Drones.
just go.
You gotta go for the
ham.
drones.
A third command center starts up. A few more Hellions still being built. More Banshees are being added in. And I think MarineLorD don't want to lose the Banshee. Just barely saves it, sends it home. Get everything else going. Wait a second. Oh my God. He's getting more. Okay. He has actually done this recently. I did not expect him to do it now. He's gonna. This looks like Sky Terran. This fast +1.
Didn't we cast that game? Didn't I recently see a game where it was like 3 or 4 stars?
He did this recently. There's only a few people that have been crazy enough to try this. Most people do transition out of the Hellbat Banshee into Bio.
Focusing on this Banshee, by the way, Nate, there's a lot of room for this Banshee to do a lot of damage over here, as the Spore Crawler is not ready yet. Queen is a little bit out of position, and he got quite a few drones and a Queen. So this Banshee, the second Banshee, was definitely the most successful of them all. But yeah, pretty sick build here by MarineLorD.
Yeah, 2 more starports are on the way. It's funny because this is the style that most people used to joke about, but with the Liberator, it's actually better than Mech because once you get that +1, you know, you always count on me to know this random stuff. +1 on the air weapons will allow Liberators in anti-ground mode to 2-shot Queens instead of 3, so it makes them way, way, way better against ground units. Liberators already 1-shot Hydras on the ground, and then if you get enough of them, you can kill pretty much any units in the skies. And this is just really good against viOlet's very heavy, aggressive Roach Ravager play. In fact, it's the hardest counter you could possibly have.
I could swear I saw a game very recently on Lerolec Crest where the Terran also spawned in the right bottom side and was going up against a Zerg that spawned in the left bottom side, where I saw this build being used.
It might have been. There's a few people that have done it. I know there's some people that take a lot of credit for these builds, but on a high-level stage, there was one game that I also know what you're talking about. I just don't remember who it was. It might have been MarineLorD in like like the base rate Team Cup or something like that. But
very well be
this style is just so strong against someone who refuses to play the normal Ling Bling Muta because it's just really frustrating as a Zerg player since Mutas can be dealt with by Liberators as the starports already open that up.
I mean, viOlet definitely knows what's up. I mean, he's building Queens absolutely non-stop. He's pushing these Hellions back for now. He has 4 or 5 Queens getting close to these Banshees. So MarineLorD, I mean, that looked okay, but I don't think he really got done what he was hoping for over there. Then again, I do wonder, like viOlet, like how are you going to win this game anytime soon? Just with Queens, you're not going to run across the map. Good use of Burrow over there and gets a couple of Hellions.
Yeah, the switch into Liberators is where this really gets good. And it's actually got me super concerned for viOlet because there is actually no further tech pick.
Yeah, I don't really understand.
Pit. He's not making his way towards a Spire.
Well, there we
this
go.
Spire is still pretty late because if he holds off this Roach attack, what you do is you move across the map with all these Hellions, these Banshees, you siege your Liberators where the Queens want to be, and you just push in with the Banshees and Hellions and win the game.
Look at the production tab. 4 Liberators, 2 Banshees on the way. I'm loving this, Nate. This is very different to most of the TvZs I've seen. I've seen it a couple of times, obviously, but this is cool. There is going to be Roaches working, or there will be Roaches working on these rocks, and that could get a little bit tricky. Great hold position there on all those Queens. Loving that.
Yeah, that base is still going to be under a reasonable bit of pressure here. A lot of Spore Crawlers are on the way. Turn them on the Hellbats, knock that hatchery down.
Banshee's going for the third base. Well, at the same time, viOlet's going to try to counterattack as well. We've got 3 Spore Crawlers. But
he's baited all the Queens out of position and will still get the cancel on this hatch. It's really nice. So Roaches make it over into that third base. The Banshees and Liberators that are finishing up should be able to hold the fort down, though, but we'll lose some SCVs in the meantime.
Very unfortunate, man. If he has 1 Liberator there, I really think he doesn't have to lose those rocks. A little bit sloppy by MarineLorD that he didn't have a single supply depot.
And
there is rocks, but these Banshees
is so sick. So Liberators are going to come up. He's like, okay. Just slowly push you away and should be able to retake that third base. Of course, the third base is super crucial in all of these sort of strategies because you need that gas. But if you're viOlet, like, are you really going to invest in Mutas? It won't work against the Liberators. And you don't have the economy. You don't have the economy to build enough Corruptors to actually challenge this either.
He has a little bit of money saved up, and he's getting an infestation pit now. It's still unfortunate. I'm repeating myself, but I really think if MarineLorD just had vision of his rocks, he would have been in a phenomenal position now. And I still think he's in a pretty good position. 7 Corruptors are on the way, by the way. but he just took a lot of economic damage that he didn't have to take at all.
The most important thing to note here is that Corruptors by default have 2 armor, and Liberators do, 2 times 7 damage, but the fact that he opened up with that attack for the ship weapon so early allows these Liberators to absolutely demolish Corruptors. Like, it is... Like, if you thought Corruptors were a good answer to Liberators, getting them this late and not having Carapace for flyers early on, like, it's going to be a bloodbath.
So you're loving MarineLorD's position right now?
Yeah, weirdly enough, I'm watching a high level. This is the TvZ Winter Championship, and he's going mass Liberator Banshee in Game 5.
So for these roads trying to buy more time for viOlet. Of course, all the queens are still something he has to worry about a tiny bit. Liberators can be phenomenal against queens, but there's a lot of transfuser energy available. The corrupt account has to be way higher. I mean, right now MarineLorD is up quite a bit in supply. I think it's safe to say that MarineLorD wants to start attacking real soon because he knows that viOlet has re-established his fort base and he wants to do something about that.
Yeah, but viOlet is actually still in a really, really rough spot because the biggest issue is that the Liberators scale in such crazy ways with the way that their splash damage works. You actually need Vipers to handle this many Liberators now, even with Corruptors. The only thing he has that's keeping him in this game is the Roaches preventing MarineLorD from actually going and attacking. And this could be a game-ending push right here.
Look at his army, 11 Banshees, 11 Liberators making their way across the map. And if he snipes this base, it's going to be very rough. viOlet's going to try to defend it with everything he has. The Queens and Corruptors are going to have to do the job for him. But Nate, is it even doable?
I honestly don't think so. Just that the splash damage alone for these Corruptors should be enough. Great transfusions coming down from the Queens, but Liberators are also super, super tanky. The Corruptors are getting a little bit of work done, but the Banshees are going to be able to pick those off. I feel like if all the Liberators were able to fight together at once, he would have had a better shot. But, Vipers are coming out. This is opening up some doors, but the economy is still not really there for viOlet either.
Obviously, those Corruptors are not going to help against the Hellion run-by, so quite a few of these drones will go down. Good use of Burrow there.
I would have liked to see mostly a Fusion Core. I think a Fusion Core for Banshee speed would have been really, really nice right about now, just so that these Banshees can get more utility. Liberators are going to stand and fight. I actually don't like this. Corruptor count's getting pretty scary.
Yes. I mean, a lot of the Liberators went down. I almost feel that maybe MarineLorD shouldn't have sieged a couple of those Liberators.
Yeah, I don't think sieging them was necessary. Yeah. That seems
to be... You've got all these Banshees, and these Banshees should already be enough damage.
Yeah, versus ground. I agree. And he's building 7 Liberators right now. Like, really, all he needs to do is just try to get a fight where those Corruptors don't have an opportunity to spread out. But, as more Vipers come in, that Parasitic Bomb is ridiculously good against clumped air units. So... if you spread out your Liberators, it's easier for your opponent to have their, of course, Corruptors spread out, and then you don't get the full effect of that AoE damage.
Very smart by viOlet to still have a couple of Roaches out there running around as well and sniping those Hellions, making sure he doesn't lose too many drones.
Yeah, I still think that there's a lot more utility to this composition than there is for viOlet because Corruptors are not usually game-ending level units, but the Banshees come in from the back, still really nice. If he had this Fusion Core earlier, like he could lose all these Banshees right now is the biggest issue, but if he had the Banshee speed upgrade, if he had the Hyperflight Rotors, he could make this so much more annoying.
First time I heard you say that name.
Yeah, Hyperflight Rotors, Advanced Ballistics, I don't know the upgrade names.
Advanced Ballistics is something we see pretty often, but... yeah. The other one?
I actually like this because I actually brought this up a long time ago when they announced in the lore why Mutalisks could go through space with wings, and it was like they basically just bodily gases, but Banshees actually had like an emergency system as well instead of just propellers. I was like, why don't we get this in the game? And now we do, but they're here a little bit late.
Sport Crawler finishes up, then the final Banshee is going to pick up as well. He did manage to get 20 drones for these Banshees, but money not really the issue right now.
Yeah, I think the most important thing that you could do right now for MarineLorD is you need to get a fight where you actually kill those Corruptors, because once you force your opponent to build 2 or 3 waves of Corruptors, it's still not that great. Like the Vipers are what's going to win this game. If viOlet wins this game, it will be because he gets really good Parasitic Bombs off on these Liberators.
Missile turrets are going to help out a lot as well. Of course, ridiculous DPS in those small buildings. Scan goes down. I mean, MarineLorD saw as well that there were Vipers. I think he even picked off one of them. And then also a little bit of energy was wasted on those Banshees. But of course, Vipers can always use the energy or the ability to just leech energy of a building.
Yeah, so from most of the games that I've seen where Zerg players are actually able to handle this, they will get a couple Broodlords and use that long range to force the Terran to come out with their Liberators. And then you just pre-spread and go for it. 187 versus 187 supply.
Yeah, 15 minutes into Game 5 of a best of 5. I mean, how close do you want to have it?
Those Vipers are just so scary, though, because the thing is, he wants to move just a few out to try and, like, pick them off, but then you can just abduct them into the Corruptors. And what he needs to do is spread all his Liberators out, get an arc, and just, like, this army right now is clumped enough for viOlet, but the Hellions are also a good way to buy time, but there's still so many Roaches on the map, too. Yeah, and they're actually flying right into all of the Roaches. Really unfortunate over here. I mean, Hellions can do well. They're not going to be able to get this hat trick. I guess you kind of have to split them up a little bit. We can see the big fight unfold as well, Nate. I mean, there's some added benefits from being near the missile turrets, but the parasitic bombs are getting a reasonable amount of damage done. Of course, that cloud still stands around. Even if the units that are tagged by it dies, the Corruptor split here is also really, really good because all the Vipers are still alive, and MarineLorD is losing a lot of his air forces. Okay, Corruptors are starting to stack up a little bit more. It is crazy how good that splash damage is. Very close, but look at the money, though. The money in the bank for viOlet. That is the one big advantage he has over MarineLorD. Like, he's down a little bit in supply. Broodlords as soon as you win the fight, make more Corruptors and keep attacking. Like I think viOlet has this. To be honest, like their Corruptor count's just too high. The parasitic bombs came at the perfect time, and now that he lost the Banshees, he can't use the Liberators as anti-grunt anymore because he's still got all these other units in his face. Miscontrol though on the Vipers. All of the Vipers do get picked off. The Roaches are a little bit of an issue here. I don't think there is a single. Well, there's like one Banshee left. Throwing away all the Vipers is actually a really big deal. viOlet just threw away so much over there, Nate. Yeah, and so here we have the... Oh, he's actually getting one of the wrong upgrades. That's the medevac. That's the medevac extra boost upgrade. Maybe he just doesn't... I don't know. Oh, it's going to lift up this orbiter. You don't want to lose the orbital MarineLorD. Well, that's really bad. I mean, he has another command center to the right as well. He can float his main there, but still not ideal. You need those scans, you need those mules. So MarineLorD actually getting those Vipers, I think, gives him a new lease on life. If your opponent just runs those 5 Vipers back and redoes that battle with more Corruptors, you're in a really bad spot. But now he can't transition into Broodlord still because he lost that air superiority. So this game remains very, very scrappy. And he also spent pretty much his entire bank there. viOlet on 140 supply right now. And I always feel like these scrappy late game scenarios, the accidental Swarm Host is going to make his first appearance as well. The accidental Swarm Host versus the accidental high capacity fuel tanks. I guess it's safe to say that both players are feeling the pressure a little bit right now. viOlet no medevacs in this game. viOlet up in supply a tiny bit. Is that is he morphing a planetary there? Yeah, definitely. So unfortunate, by the way, because MarineLorD keeps selling Hellions everywhere, but I feel everywhere he sends the Hellions, there's always Roaches, but every time I look, there's always an exposed base as well for viOlet. It just seems that MarineLorD is not getting very fortunate with finding that exposed base. Yeah, one of the biggest things, though, is just been these Roaches. Their counter harass has been so good throughout this series. Very big scout, by the way, for viOlet. He has scouted the 5th base of MarineLorD, and now he's probably going to try to do something about it. The accidental Swarm Host is going to harass it. Did not get any kills yet. Don't do it, man. The funny thing is, things actually have like a good amount of DPS, but it's just like they're so awkward. I mean, it's so funny because MarineLorD doesn't know about this base. I think he's gonna see it now with the Hellions. No, he still doesn't know. Well, he's gonna the Hellions are rallied down. No, he pressed F2, I think. Okay. Well, he definitely wants all of his units to try to help deal with this, but those Hellions could have gotten more. Oh, he went for the Changelings. That's so bad though, because I think that mineral line was completely exposed. How many Vipers are there? There's 3. We have 2 more on the way, so he's gonna still get up to this really nice parasitic bomb cloud. And you need to win without losing your... You can win the fight and have all your Liberators about to die, but you can't lose them all against this. If the Hellions would have gone to that base, there are 20 drones there that are, you know... completely defenseless. Yep. Like, there's nothing there to stop him from just going and having a great barbecue. Like, it's the 4th of July. And again, he sends his Hellions via the north side, and they run straight into Roaches. Like, I think MarineLorD's getting a little bit unfortunate. Thank you for sending all of your harassment units. Thank you for sending, like, 3,000 minerals worth of Hellions to the one base that I have Roaches at. I really appreciate it. And look at the supplies, man. viOlet is definitely snowballing now a little bit. Okay, yeah, MarineLorD is going to scout the base in the left bottom side now, so that is something at least for him. But he's going to lose all these Hellions, and I think it's safe to say that viOlet wants to start attacking, man. Bit late to make this play on this base. He's probably going to use Caustic Spray right now on this planetary, or at least I think he's going to try. Yeah, you can definitely force him to come at you with that. MarineLorD is in trouble, man. Look at the supplies. Force the fight. I love the Vikings to try to bait out these parasitic bombs and get the damage onto them, baiting out the energy, maybe killing one of the Vipers, but he's going to have to take the fight, and the Corruptors are going to destroy that planetary fortress with that Caustic Spray. The Corruptors trying to spread out as well, and I think viOlet's already happy enough with the way that happened. He's like, all right, I'll just back up. And really what he needs to do is just try to throw out a parasitic bomb. The Roach counter harass is also doing phenomenal. Wow. But everything's just starting to go viOlet's way now. Yep, a ridiculously close series, but it really seems that viOlet is creating a very big advantage for himself right now in game number 5. And unless he does something very silly with all of his Corruptors, this should be a win game for him. He's still up 50 supply. Of course, we can't underestimate Terran, but with Parasitic Bomb available, I really don't see viOlet losing this. Yeah, I mean, Parasitic Bomb was basically brought into the game to end these sorts of compositions. And even though it was recently nerfed a good bit, MarineLorD hasn't gained advantages in enough other areas to actually lose any of his Liberators. He actually cannot afford to lose anything anymore, but viOlet at the same time has just been like, yeah, I can. I've got all these bases. You haven't really shut down any of my weak spots.
And these counterattacks are really messing with MarineLorD as well. It's just focusing him to deal with these roaches over and over and over again. I think the Corruptor is going to try to do something about this planetary as well. I'm not sure where the Liberators are. I think they're coming. Has to be careful over here, but the Vipers are here too, Nate.
It's important to note that there's a pretty long cooldown on this ability, so he's probably just going to sit here, yeah, make sure he kills the command center, and it just does so much damage. Like, you can't stop those Corruptors. MarineLorD does not have enough Liberators. He has no more income.
If he would have used those Liberators, and he was above a missile turret as well. There is one more orbital command over here. A lot of Corruptors did die there, but viOlet still has a lot of money in the bank.
Yeah, the problem is he can afford to lose a lot of Corruptors, and now...
I kind of feel like he has to take this fight, right?
Yeah, he's going to lose them anyway, but at this point, it's just so hard to deal with this. If he had gotten Banshee speed, which I still don't think he realizes he never got, it would have been so much easier to send a few back to deal with those roaches, or send a Banshee around the map, and like finally this base gets harassed, but I feel like it's just too little too late. As cost effective as these units can be, he needs a miracle engagement where the parasitic bombs, like, you can't miss. It's not a skill shot. You literally just click on the units and they get tagged with it. So if viOlet just uses his parasitic bomb, he should be able to force enough counter micro out of MarineLorD that he can't take a cost-effective engagement.
Yep, and even though he just lost one of his mining bases, he still has this one, his fort, and he still has the base on the top side of the map as well, even though a lot of drones are not mining there currently. But it's safe to say that viOlet is still in an absolutely phenomenal position. He's losing bases left and right though.
He has lost a lot of resource value because those roaches, of course, are very supply heavy, but it's going to come down to the Vipers, and there are 6 of them. So 6 parasitic bombs that could get cast across this army. There's more Liberators than there are Corruptors.
But there's barely any money to repair these Corruptors as well, and that's also a big problem.
Yeah.
Love that Banshee over there.
Yeah, see, the Banshees are just so much better when you can just run them around with the speed upgrade, and it's also, you consider that he actually lost resources on the medevac upgrade that he never needed in the first place.
viOlet is going to try to end this game one more time. He has to be careful that he doesn't idle above missile turrets.
I love this. You know, MarineLorD's actually starting to turn this in a really good way, because he just needs to make sure that he fights somewhere where he gets at least the support of a turret or two, because that is what's going to deter the Vipers from coming closer more than anything else. And you know, the Hellbats are actually finally starting to get some work done.
It's close. It's a lot closer than before. viOlet had a 75-80 supply lead, and look at the HP on this hatchery.
I wouldn't even mind a Raven or two at this point, and especially if he had the economy to squeeze in the Raven damage upgrade, that's also really sick. But we see here, you know, those Corruptors have a bit of a rougher time catching up to those Liberators. You know, you trade one out for a few drones here and there. It's still really tricky.
The biggest problem for MarineLorD is that he's just so incredibly mined out.
Yeah, he's just broke. He's broke as a joke. viOlet also doesn't have a crazy amount of money to work with either. He's just basically got that top north base. His main, third, and natural, and his fourth are pretty much all mined out.
Yeah, the biggest problem is, though, that if MarineLorD tries to take this base, which he really needs, then obviously viOlet wants to fight there, and there is no support of turrets there whatsoever.
You need to squeeze out a turret or something like that. Like, this is just such a tricky position to be in. I can't imagine like what he must be thinking, and of course Corruptors wreck rocks too.
I mean, viOlet, he has a couple of links, but he's going to morph Broodlords for the first time. Interesting to spend your money on Broodlords right now.
I think more Corruptors the better, but you know, he has the Queens there for transfuse too, so that's also going to give him a really big step up here.
Banshee's going to find that base on the left bottom side.
There's
nothing there. This is a great run by.
Needs to absolutely shut down the economy.
No, that's not needed.
Yeah, I don't.
It was shift, I guess. Shift click.
I don't think you needed to change your combat mode, but I mean that also would allow them to focus on the hatch. But this pulls the Corruptors back, or maybe some of these other units if they want to.
He spotted this command center. The command center can't actually land. He's gonna have to land it real quick. Maybe throw down a scanner or anything.
Yeah.
Gonna take care of it.
This command center, you know, the thing is, he's gonna kill this. He's just gonna click with the caustic spray, and he's gonna say, "Hey, if you want to defend this, feel free to do so." And then I will drop Parasitic Bomb on your army. So this is such a tense moment.
Oh, viOlet's gonna lose the one mining base that he really had. He has that base, of course, on the left bottom side, but that one is very vulnerable if he loses one fight.
And the Broodlords are killing the turrets.
I mean, 17 Corruptors against 18 Liberators. Like, the Liberators can win that fight, but the Vipers, Nate, you've said it as well. And let's not forget about Queens. Queens are here too.
Yeah, the Queens can get that damage done from the ground, but they can also, of course, transfuse. There's first Parasitic Bomb. 1, 2, there's still, okay, 3, 4, 5, and he has one last one that he can throw out as well. These Liberators spread out so much, but see, as they die, the cloud stays there for the full duration, so he still takes so much more damage, and I think that alone is enough to turn the tides of this battle. Now the Corruptors can come, they just, you know, do their thing on this command center. That's going to go down. There's still enough presence on the ground for viOlet to pick off units here and there. I think this game's over. GG! viOlet takes the 3-2 victory over MarineLorD. Oof. Yeah.
6 series, absolutely crazy series, and very, very well done there by viOlet. Had to work so incredibly hard for it. MarineLorD, one of the hottest Terrans in Europe right now. And he went for an awesome build in Game 5, Nate. I mean, are you not entertained? We just saw Mass Liberator Banshee against Corruptor Roach Queen. I think that series had it all, and just an awesome performance by both players.
It is so interesting to see, especially in that final game. Like, that's a style that I think a lot of Terran players have tried to mess around with. It was actually kind of here and there in the beta. Parasitic Bomb being nerfed really opened the door for that, since it went, like, you don't need you don't need to spread as much. Like, you need a lot more Parasitic Bombs to do it. But Zerg players have kind of adjusted to this by doing what viOlet did. Like, normally three Vipers are enough to do it. But in this case, 6, he's like, yeah, you cannot split enough, because all I need to do is kill one of the tagged units, and the cloud still stays there. Like, anything will still take damage, even if the Liberator dies.
You don't have to tell me, I play Phoenix a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I know. Either way, I think it was a great series, and I can't wait to hear what the boys at the desk have to say about that awesome best of 5.
Thank you very much, Rotty and Nathan. That was the highlight game of the evening, as we all expected it to be, and oh boy, did it deliver. Joined on the desk now by In Control, MarineLorD, and Valdez. What a series to end the night.
Way to go, viOlet. I just gotta say, like, it's so cool to see a Korean player standing up to the foreigner oppressors. Like, finally, someone has just had enough, you know. And MarineLorD was talking smack yesterday, and viOlet was able to overcome. So my hope is that, of course, he goes to the finals and takes all the money. That's what I really want.
There's one thing that's clear, all jokes aside, this guy is, like, unbelievably good now.
It's believably good,
no, it's, like, unbelievable to me. I didn't expect this kind of good. You know what I'm saying? That was a really fantastic showing against one of the best TvZers in the world right now, possibly.
Oh, wow.
Definitely in Europe.
Caster there. That's nice.
I mean, it's I don't
good for
know.
you. Good racing it.
I had to do it at least once tonight. You know?
He's two of the best players in the world, as far as I'm concerned. I do want to say, and I liked what Nathaniel was talking about, very cool that in Game 5 a pocket strat comes out like that. And in a lot of cases, that's exactly what the kind of foreigner players were missing. Again, all jokes aside at this point in time. Where they were just like, oh no, Game 5, straight and narrow, do what I do every time. But instead, he tried something. Yep. It didn't necessarily work out. There was, I think, a few mistakes. But for the most part, that was probably one of his best chances to beat viOlet as well. And that was really cool. I think what's kind of funny is we know viOlet really well. I don't know that MarineLorD does. We know viOlet is very good on his feet. And in like chaos situations like that, he actually is one of the better ones to react. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think if he did this to Hydra, that would be interesting. I think Hydra, I don't know how he would react to that. Maybe not very well.
It was a really cool composition, but it just looks like that kind of composition snowballs in the Zerg's favor towards the end with, I mean, you know, the Caustic Spray and the Parasitic Bomb, both pretty good abilities.
It seems decent.
That's what we're beginning to figure out.
You mentioned that the you know, Caustic Spray probably needs a buff and DPS. Parasitic Bomb maybe double the DPS, to be fair.
I was watching with the Muslim, I was like, man, that's a good ability.
Yeah, it's not bloody bad.
All he utters, he goes, and it's nerfed. I was like,
and it's nerfed.
It was a great strategy choice, and you know, playing cross positions like that, the surprise element, there was a lot of good things that came there, especially because that style's not so common, and you know, how much has viOlet even played against that? But as you said, you know, he adapted very well and played very well. We do have viOlet after that amazing series on the couch with Redeye, a brilliant 3-2 victory for him. Redeye, come in.
Thank you very much, Sean. Yes, we do have viOlet over here, and we'll get all the reactions from him. Initially, viOlet, how do you feel after that long match and that incredible 5th game?
After lose Elena, I'm like, my mental a little get broken because I thought really had, but just one bad fight, and I thought I make Ultra Escape, but I make Infestor Fit, and you know, some situations. So I started nervous after that, and you know, like last game especially, is pretty weird.
Yeah, let's talk about that last game in particular, because you know, the desk have already talked about it a bit. Have you ever come across that kind of style? Is it something you had to react to on the fly?
I mean, I only know guy do like similar thing for GG. Right. He's like Korean letter, he playing a lot, but he play like same thing over and over. Especially he really loves Mac and then Sky in Legacy of the Void. And TvZ is doing really more aggressive with the Banshee, not Hellion. And you know, Banshee's, if you upgrade, Banshee's speed is really fast. And he harassed with that, not Hellion. So that's a little bit different. That's why I got confused. Yeah. And I was waiting when he gonna get speed of Banshees. So, but he just didn't, and he harassed with the Hellion. So I think I don't know what to do. I just make a roaches and just trying to counter attack and just fight for. I think
Yeah. So you're a bit nervous in that last game.
Yeah. So even I make Bruiser. Great Spire earlier, but I didn't make Bruiser because I thought he gonna keep trying Hellion, harassing everywhere. So I think this works. I think.
Ben, were you? I mean, you sat here, we were kind of marveling at the difference, you know, the ballsy kind of play that MarineLorD played, but ultimately it hasn't paid off. But I mean, this man here reacted perfectly to it, didn't he?
I think viOlet definitely played well, but there's a few things that MarineLorD missed out on, like
speed.
He didn't see the rocks getting killed.
No, he didn't. You're right.
So there was an early attack that did a lot of damage with the roaches. Like if he just had a few Banshees there, it would have denied it. So his strategy was probably really good. If he didn't take that early damage, he could have been in a much better spot. But yeah, one thing that we talked about earlier was like, hey, is he going to get like Liberator range and Banshee speed?
We were talking about it for almost the entire game. Like, when's it going to come?
Then he ran over and he had lots of Banshee harass, but they just couldn't run away once they get there. So like the mutas were a really good choice to deflect them. But yeah, overall just really well played, man.
Yeah. So
I'm still like shaking though.
Ulrina was really close to
that was the other game.
You did an attack on his natural where he like kind of messed up with the tank, so you killed 3 tanks or so in the first push, and that was really far ahead.
And I forgot to inject that time, so I trying to kill this time, but I didn't inject like 2 times, so I don't have a reinforcement army, so I just go to macro.
Yeah, like there's one fight in particular where you were really far ahead, but then he had like a Liberator of your 3rd and your natural, and then the drop, like that was, what were you feeling at that time? Because you were so far ahead before that happened.
Yeah, I was thinking, because I told you about, like earlier, I thought I made Ultra Escape on earlier.
Oh, the infestation
pet. And then when he attacked, he killed a lot of my drones. Yeah. So actually, my supply goes down like 150, and my army is still there. So I was thinking if I just keep making Ultra Race and just, just one big fight, then I can win. But I didn't have Ultra Escape at that time, so
do you feel like
I just make a drone, but I got fucked.
I want to ask one more.
Go, do it.
I want to ask like a question. Okay, so when you play against Terrans that go like Rax Reaper, like 3 Rax Reaper, do you actually find that difficult? And if so, like what maps do you find it most difficult on? Was it a good choice by MarineLorD on Central Protocol to do it against you?
If like not cross position, I think it's definitely
so on
good.
Close position.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I didn't expect he gonna do 3 Rax the first game, and I don't know. I didn't expect at all.
I mean, you handled it really well, so.
Yeah, and after handled that, after first game, I was feel like maybe he gonna like 3-4 Rax.
Yeah.
All in cheese, something like. So I was just thinking, should I drone Scout like million times? But just.
I guess it's a good way for him to start off the series, because then it makes you think like, oh wow, this guy can cheese me. Like, what else is he gonna do for the rest of the series? Yeah. And he did throw out something crazy in the last game, so. Yeah, but you play him a lot in practice as well for like ladder and stuff, or no, not at all?
Recently I play just a lot Korean ladder, so I don't know about much.
Missing the Europeans.
Yeah. I think I maybe start a little bit.
Learn their styles.
Getting known Europeans.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, well thank you very much, congrats, and we'll see you in the quarterfinals. It's been a fantastic run, we hope it continues for you. So well done, Violet. Thank you also to Muslim, and also to all of the other people that have been here in Pro Corner throughout the day. We're going to go back to the panel for their final thoughts on the day. It's all yours, Sean.
Thank you very much, Red Eye, and what a great day it really was. Thank you very much, In Control, to your input for today.
Give everything I can.
You really give it your all, deep inside.
Well, hey, that was a great marquee matchup. I was really happy with it. And also, it's like, tip of the hat to Funka, by the way. This guy, I don't think it's on stream, but he has so much passion. When MarineLorD tapped out, it was like the final scenes of Braveheart. Like, in the background, like, oh, it was like, wow. As he's observing, he's like, circle the final scene. Really good, really cool. Anyways, I'm making too many jokes, but just awesome games, great marquee matchup, and I'm excited for tomorrow, man. There's still so many great matches to go.
Yeah, I mean, we can check in with the bracket for you guys at home. We've almost finished with the round of 16, but not quite yet. We have a couple of games left to go tomorrow. Massa and Snoot, Hydra and Neeb, and Alazer and Isonu will be playing in the round of 16s, and we will also complete the round of 8 tomorrow before moving to the Spodek Arena, where the top 4 of this tournament will play in front of that memorial historic stage that we're going to have. It's a brilliant opportunity for all these players. We're all looking very forward to it. And we've had a great day. You know, fantastic games, really ended well.
Good bracket, by the way. We still have a Frenchman in there, so I know that robust scene is very excited. We still have some Polish players with a laser as well.
Yeah, and the other thing
cover there, and even a Chinese guy, which is awesome.
That's really interesting as well. But like the other thing about this bracket is that I can't even pick a winner right now. There's so many names that could possibly surprise win. You know, there's Huck, who's in the running still. There's Neeb, who's everybody's hyping about. There's the big guys. The Koreans are still around. Pole, Hydra, viOlet are all through. Who else am I not mentioning? I mean, pretty much anyone at this point could do it. Nergio is still around.
Innovation.
He's got to face Huck. Sue and Dark, you know, they're gonna fly over tomorrow. You know?
It's funny the way that the brackets kind of turned in that way, because a lot of obviously talk before the tournament was how France would do. France obviously now are pegged down quite a lot. They've lost their best players in the tournament. They still have one remaining to go. But if you're looking now at Polish players, obviously Polish players stand out, like you said, the Americans, North American players, Huck and Neeb. Can perhaps shine.
Huck overachieving, 6-0. Nobody was saying that, I don't think.
Yeah.
Nobody at all. And Neeb had a rocky start, but he is still one of the more hyped guys, and he's going to have one of the biggest tests. Hydra going into this is one of the guys that everyone's like, oh yeah, he could win it. He's 1 or 2.
Yeah. That's what I was saying. There's just so many people that could win it. From now, we haven't even finished the round of 16.
More than 8 that could win it. It's amazing.
It's a great bracket, and we've had a lot of fun today, but that wraps up day 2 for us here at the Intel Extreme Masters. We're going to be looking forward to day 3 tomorrow. We'll be starting at the same time as always, 12 p.m. local time. Before we close out, of course, a big thank you to thescoreesports.com for all live updates throughout the week, and of course to plays.tv. You can go there now, or even add the Chrome extension to get highlights of all the action across all the different games that run here at the Intel Extreme Masters for your pleasure. Thank you very much for tuning in. It's been a pleasure bringing this broadcast to you. We'll see you tomorrow for day 3.